Okay. So we're streaming and recording. Yep, it's looking good. Okay, let's see. I've got to go live next. Oh, yeah. Reset that. Yep. Let's see, go. Okay. Privacy public. Pop out the chat. Pop out chat. How do you do that? Pop out chat. Okay. Okay. Sweet as. All right, I think we're ready to start. All right. Hello, my name's Pete. This is Pirates Just Are, the first ever live stream. I'm gonna have a go at using Windows Mixed Reality. And using Windows Mixed Reality with the series of Starchart 3D that I've been working on. So hopefully by the end of this, we'll be able to look through the goggles and be in the Starchart 3D sort of world. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get Windows Mixed Reality working with Unity. I've played around a little bit before. I just want to make sure that that's all working fine. And the next step will be to get it going in Starchart 3D. And then the next step after that will be to hopefully use the controllers to play around with some of the settings like scale and time and that sort of thing. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. All right. I'm going to go ahead and open up Unity. Just going to double check something. Scale and time and that sort of thing. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. All right. Let me go ahead and open up Unity. Okay, that's looking good. Sweet as. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so I'm going to start a new project. I'll just call it VR test. VR test. Pirates Just Are. Let's put it on a desktop. I'm listening to music, by the way. I'm not just banging my head for no reason. Been listening to a lot of synthwave recently. Let's say pop this on. Yeah, this is from it's an unofficial Grand Theft Auto Vice City synthwave playlist. So good. Okay. Okay, so from what I understand, there's a few ways to do Windows Mixed Reality in Unity. One of them is to use like a native Windows Mixed Reality kit, which is, I guess you'll be able to build like those native Windows Store applications really easily. Now there's another way of doing it with using the SteamVR application. And something really nice about that is you're kind of working. SteamVR is designed to be cross-platform. It should work with Windows Mixed Reality. It should work with I don't know, Oculus Rift and Vive and all those. So we're going to give that one approach. See how it goes. I believe I need to go into the package manager. So let's see. If I go ahead and look at package manager. Assets. Is it a... Oh, here we go. Packages. All right. Okay, so... I'm going to go to OpenVR, I think. Yeah, I think it's... Okay, so we need this OpenVR package. We'll see if that's it. I might also need to download something from the asset store. Let's see how it goes. Okay, is that downloaded? Packages, OpenVR, plugins. Okay, I don't think so. Okay, I believe what I've done here is I've downloaded the package that SteamVR relies on. Let's see. If I go into Asset Store, I'm gonna try and download that SteamVR package. SteamVR plugin. Oh, maybe it'll say in the description. SteamVR SDK allows developers to target a single interface that will work with all major virtual reality headsets, from seated to room scale experiences. Provides access to tracked controllers, chaperoning. Oh yeah, I think that's like the boundaries. Render models for tracked devices. That's cool. So that'll give us a little 3D model that looks like this. Okay, the compositor allows you to preview your content in VR using the play mode. Okay, that looks good. Requires installing the SteamVR runtime. I've got that. So I've got Steam installed. That reminds me. I'm gonna need to set up the Windows Mixed Reality for the room as well. Yeah, so I've got Windows Mixed Reality installed. I've got SteamVR installed. I'm gonna need this package. So I'll go ahead and download that. Now I'm wondering if I needed that OpenVR package. We'll find out. I might be able to remove the OpenVR one and see if it's needed. Now while that's going, what I need to do is, because every time with the Windows Mixed Reality, it works really well. It's just that every time I change anything about my room, I need to reset up the chaperone. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna need to take my headphones off for it. Okay, so I need to go into Windows Mixed Reality. No, Mixed Reality Portal. Mixed Reality Portal. Okay. Whoops. Did I just break a thing? Okay, no, it's all good. Okay. There we go. So at the moment, it's going to say currently being directed, and I'm almost certain that if I move this around, it's not gonna know where it is. Give it a go. Hi there. Look side to side, then down at the floor. Yeah. So it's not finding the space that it's in. So all I need to do is go into boundary, run setup, set me up for all experiences. Okay, let's create a boundary. Now here's a little fun fact about how I do this. I tend to, it says point your headset at the computer and select center. The thing is that if you do this and you set up your boundary this way, then all the games will treat this as your forward position. And the only problem with that is it means that you have this cable. See, I've got this, if I'm in the center of my room, I've got this cable that's coming out the front. So what I really want is I want to turn it around like this way. So yeah, so the cable's coming out the back. So go ahead and do that. It's always a bit tricky with the green screen as well. For the cameras in the Windows Mixed Reality, for them to find enough feature points can be a bit tricky. Anyway, we'll give it a few goes. See what happens. Oh, I've already screwed up. I need to make sure that's centered. Okay. Center. And trace. Okay. So I'm just going to walk around the room here. Alright. This is the danger zone where I get right near the green screen. Looks like it's going alright. Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's looking good. We're going to come back now. And all the way around. How good's that? First go. Okay. So now I can press accept. That should all be fine. Alright, sweet. So whenever you can see this mixed reality, I don't know what you call it. Oh, then it's called the cliff house or something. When you can see the cliff house, it means that it's tracking. As you move forward and backwards, it can figure that out. All right. So now we've got that set up. Headphones back on. Okay. What's a delau? Delau. Okay. So next step is to see if we can get SteamVR working. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and import all these packages. And now the question is whether I need OpenVR package and SteamVR installed. So I'm first of all going to try uninstalling the OpenVR, see if we only need the SteamVR. It'd be nice to know that, you know, we only need certain things, and then if we do need the OpenVR, we can reinstall it. Might as well open VS Code as well. Well, no. I'm not going to open VS Code because this project's just going to be making sure that Windows Mixed Reality is working, and then we'll go and use Starchart 3D and do some coding. Okay. Okay. So we're getting a lot of errors, but they might be fine. It might not be a problem. So I'm just going to set up some of the screens here. Okay. Okay. All right. So I've got all this. It's asking me if I want to. Let's see if I want to change any of these settings. I think we just use the recommended ones. Project settings. Okay, we made the right choice. Okay, switch to native OpenVR support. Okay, so all right. So next step is I'm gonna uninstall this OpenVR package. See if I don't need it. And we'll give. I'm sure there'll be like a demo scene maybe, or even from memory. I believe we just need a prefab. There should be a. Oh, you can't really see that. One sec. I'll move this across here, and if I move this across here. So what I'm doing is I'm going into when we installed that SteamVR, that asset. We've got a folder called SteamVR in our assets folder. And inside there's a folder called prefabs, and I believe if we get this camera rig prefab, let's have a look at it. Yeah, it's got your left controller, your right controller, and your camera. So I'm gonna go ahead and when it says camera, I think it means headset, or maybe not. We'll find out. Okay, so. What's the next step? We're going to go ahead into, in assets. No, not assets. In scene, okay. All right, so what we're going to do Oh. Yeah, this is all new to me. I haven't used this. This new prefab like previewer. Okay, there we go. We're back in our regular scene now, and now I can go in my assets, SteamVR prefabs, and camera rig. Okay. OpenVR API. That's cool. So I think that what that's telling us is we do need this package called OpenVR. If I go ahead and press play, we'll see if we get any. Yeah. Yeah, it's saying, where's your OpenVR API? That's cool. Now we know. So I'm going to go ahead and reinstall that. Okay, and let's see if that'll play. Oh yeah, look at that. Okay, so now I've got Windows Mixed Reality starting up. Hey Tomo, if you look at the description of my YouTube channel, you'll see Pirates PD at Pirates just PD at Pirates. I'll just type it in. Hold on a sec. PD at piratesjust.com. There we go. Okay, be careful because YouTube inserted a little space there, I think. Okay, okay, now this is a new one. It looks like you haven't generated actions for SteamVR input yet. Would you like to open the SteamVR input window? So let's go ahead and have a look at. I'm not sure exactly what that is. I've already opened that up. Okay, so it's just giving us a black screen. Okay, that didn't really work. Give it another go. Yes. Okay, I'm wondering if because I've got yes. Okay, is that sort of working? Okay, well I believe it sort of sorted itself out. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what this actions thing is. Teleport, skeleton, left hand, squeeze. It might have to do with this thing about there being so many different VR headsets with different controllers, and they're probably thinking, oh, and we're also gonna have, I don't know, you got your Magic Leap and your, what is it, the Microsoft one, HoloLens. You know, so I believe this action thing is some sort of way of getting all those different inputs, and you can manually assign them to different outputs. Anyway, we're just going to use the default, which should have just worked. I'm going to pop that up here. Okay. Okay, so now I'll give a play button another go. Okay, I thought I just did that. Okay. So I believe what I needed to do here is in this SteamVR input tab, I need to hit save and generate. That should give us a default actions.json file. Okay, do you want to save the changes you made? Yes. Okay, let's give that play button another go. Okay. Yep, we're getting a few messages, but no. Yep, no errors. Let's see. Hey, look at that. Okay, so we got the Windows Mixed Reality working, the controllers we can see. Yeah, that's perfect. I guess that's all we need for play settings set don't on. XR settings. Let's see, XR settings. Is that in project settings? Project settings don't on. Player settings, XR settings. Oh, okay, is that what you meant? Virtual reality supported? Don't. on. Oh well. I know there's a bit of a delay between me talking and the chat as well. Okay, that's all right. I believe it's working. So the next step is we can just go right into our Starchart project and see if we can implement Windows Mixed Reality into that. I mean, the only thing I haven't played around with is exactly how the input works. I'm not sure how that works yet, but we'll figure that out as we go. Okay, so I'm gonna close this project. Okay, and now the plan with this is to like, this is a live stream where I'm just going to muck around, see how everything works. Depending on how it goes, I might end up doing another video which will be like a more condensed version of how to do VR with the Starchart project. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so if I go ahead into coding and Starchart 3D. Okay, so we've got a folder called Unity. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy it and just paste a copy of it on the desktop. This will be like a version that we can just muck around with and you know, install all the packages. One thing I will mention is that whether you're working with VR or AR, you know, let's say you installed the AR Foundation package, then what like both the OpenVR and AR Foundation packages do is they muck around with the settings a lot. So for example, you notice that when we press play button, then you know, this Windows Mixed Reality portal kicks up, and I guess what I'm saying is that when working with a project, you kind of want to keep your VR one and your AR one separate, and then somehow find a way to, you know, if you're going to keep the code that works for both of them, somehow keep that consistent. So the hope with the Starchart 3D one is that now we're at a point where I can separate the two projects into a VR and AR, and we're not going to need to muck around with the how the project works. And if we do, we'll figure that out later. Okay, so let's see. Now we've got this Unity folder. I'm just going to rename that to Starchart 3D. What are we going to call it? Starchart 3D VR. Okay. And now, I suppose I'll just go back into my Unity. Let's see. Unity page, and I think this is the best way to open it. Open desktop, Starchart 3D VR, select folder. Okay, so now we know what we need to do. We need to install the OpenVR package. We need to install the SteamVR asset. Oh yeah, so if you haven't seen this before, this is the Starchart 3D project I've been working on. It's a playlist you'll be able to find on the Pirates Shall Start channel. It's essentially like one of those Skyview apps, or a what do you call it? You know, those planetarium type things. The only difference is that we've been able to get the 3D information of the stars. So you can see as I move out, if I turn off the constellations, the constellations look really weird from any angle that's not our solar system. I'm going to go ahead and, I'll disable the constellations so we can see this a bit better. Okay, so you can notice how our stars have 3D positions. It's turned into a really interesting series because the stars have 3D positions. You want to find out ways of sizing them correctly, and yeah, so it ended up being really learnt a lot from doing that one. Okay, so let's go ahead and get VR started. I'll turn this back on. Okay, so first step is OpenVR package. Install. Okay, and next step is the SteamVR asset. SteamVR asset, SteamVR plugin. Okay. The next thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to find out how to get inputs mapped. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look up the documentation. Okay. So if I go into, say, create a new web page. Okay, I'm going to look up Unity VR input. Hopefully there'll be a nice, here we go. Unity manual input for OpenVR controllers. That's exactly what we need. Okay, so this is about setting it up. And then we need what we need is the API for the code. Let's see, what if I look up input? That's probably going to have a lot of answers. Gosh. Input. Unity. Okay. What if I look up Unity? Oh, here we go. I think I just looked at that. Input for Windows Mixed Reality, maybe? Okay, Unity button ID, that's interesting. Unity axis. So that's cool, because I think the axis ID, maybe not. Okay, I was gonna say, because you can do like input.getAccess, horizontal and vertical, which works for both the mouse and I think it works for the mouse and the WSAD and the up, down, left, right arrows. Might be wrong there. Okay, so now we've got to accept these. This is the project settings that it's going to change. Made the right choice. All right, and now the next step is that, what was it? The SteamVR input. We need to create. What is it? This SteamVR. What was it called? Maybe if I just press play, it'll tell me. Okay, that's taking quite a while to play. Okay, because yeah, I remember when we were doing it last time, we needed to create that actions JSON file. Anyway, let's go ahead and see if we can get this working. So I'm gonna jump into prefabs, camera rig. Let's see if I just drop that in there. Okay, so it's done a few things here because we've made some changes to our main camera. Maybe we just cleared it with a solid color. Maybe that's the only change we made. Okay, so I'm gonna disable this regular old camera. Okay, now something freaked out there. Constellation overlay text. Okay, what is that? Oh no. Might need to re-import all of these prefabs because they might need to know which camera it is. Unless it's no. I think it's getting the main camera. Okay, I know this is just like me nutting stuff out. Okay. So if you've been keeping up with the Starchart series, you see how we've got these. What I'll do is I'll just re-enable this main camera, disable the camera rig for a second. See how we've got these. We've got our constellations, and then we've got this text on the constellations, and it kind of looks like the text is like out there in the world, sitting on the constellations. And that's something that I did play around with, but it turns out, at least the way I found was that it's easier to use a 2D regular UI and figure out the position that all the UI is two-dimensional, it's on the camera, and then you figure out where it should be tracking the object, where it should be tracking the constellation. So I believe what's happening is when I disable my main camera, then the overlays are saying, where's the main camera? So hopefully what I can do is you see how if we look at this main camera, it's got at the very top here, it's got a tag that says main camera. If I go to my camera rig and go to the camera, yeah, so I notice that it's untagged. So if I tag this as main camera and then enable my camera rig, I think it worked. Let's see. Let's see, if I just press play, what happens? Okay, yeah, so this is that SteamVR input we need to do. Yes. Okay. Just leave that for now, because I think, oh, damn. It closed. Alright, so try that again, press play. Yes, I would. Yes, I would. Yes. Okay, here we go. Okay, so now if I hit save and generate, it's going to give us a default, I guess it's like an input mapping from Windows Mixed Reality to Unity. Okay. Okay, I still don't quite understand how we're going to start scripting the input. Let's see, what if I just go to that input page, maybe it'll have like a subsection. Let's see, okay, so input, input, oh, what's all this? Scripting API. Unity scripting reference. Let's see, go to Unity Engine dot. Like I thought it's called input. The engine dot input. That's what I thought. Let's give it another go. Input. Okay, now this might work because now we're in a scripting API rather than the manual. There we go. Okay, cool. Okay, so that's a start. So now we've got input, close classes. Oh, unless it's in class. Okay, classes. If I scroll down to, okay, input, okay. Yeah, okay, that's where it is. All right. Mobile devices. Okay, input get access. Maybe that get access is because when I looked at Windows Mixed Reality controllers, and it says something about each of these. I think it's like the touch buttons and the analog sticks having their own access ID. Let's see. So maybe that access name has to do with access ID. So that's, yeah. So I'm used to this vertical and horizontal ID. Gosh, it's taken a little while to load. It took nowhere near this long for an empty project. I wonder why that is. Unless it's frozen. We'll see. Okay. maybe I'll look up a tutorial for the input. Let's see. Unity SteamVR input C#. Let me in. Oh gosh, no, not one of these. Sign up to look at. How to get controller input when using SteamVR interaction. Get hair trigger. So this is from, out of interest, these are all from mid-2017, and I wouldn't be surprised if a lot's changed since then. Okay. Let's see. Input.get joystick names. When properly configured and connected, any OpenVR compatible controllers are internally named as either OpenVR controller left or OpenVR controller right. Okay. Access this name through the list returned by input.get joystick names. Highlighted in green. To access this menu, you must have both Steam and SteamVR installed. We got that. Okay. XR input. Input for Windows Mixed Reality. That's what I'm using. So it might just be as simple as getting these button IDs, so mapping these button IDs. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Okay, now I'm pretty sure this has crashed. Oh, no, I just got to press save. Right. Unity was waiting for me. That's funny as. Okay, that's a bit better. Okay. Might keep this tab open just in case. And one more thing I'm going to do in my scene is I'm going to go into camera, and this clear flags, we're just going to set that to a solid color. I'll make that black. Okay. Scene. Alright. Here we go. Let's see if this all worked. Clear eye console. Hey, might have worked. Let's find out. That's looking good. Alright, one moment. Whoa! Okay, some stuff's kind of working, some other stuff really isn't working. Okay, first of all, I don't think I've got positional tracking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that, let's see, I really want to make sure that if I walk, that I can walk around the scene. So that's not really working. Yeah, so you notice how on this Windows Mixed Reality thing, we don't have the names of the constellations. So this is literally I'll point to it. This one down here is what I'm seeing, and this one up here is what I don't know. It's what Unity thinks it should be seeing. Okay. Yeah. So we certainly don't have positional tracking. So let's see if we can get that working. Put this down here. What I'll do is I'll see if positional tracking is working with our regular Windows Mixed Reality. So if I close this, I'll close SteamVR, and I'll close Windows Mixed Reality. Oh no, yeah, that might have done it. Make sure that it's found the room. It should have, because we just set it up. Put on your headset. All right. Please look side to side and then down at the floor. Side to side. Yeah, okay. So even though we've just set it up, it's still not quite finding the room. It's a bit of a shame. What if I put it here? No? Okay. Alright, so I'll go ahead and set that up again. Let's see how I do that. Okay, so I'll go into Mixed Reality Portal, run setup, set me up for all experiences. Okay. Yep. And now center. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and Put the center in here. There we go. Okay, now hit the trace button. All right. Go ahead and move that around the room. Go. Yeah, I don't blame the headset for not finding it. It's got a few things to deal with. One of them is I've got a massive green screen behind me, which has no, it's got no tracking, it's got no feature points. There's nothing different about the screen where for the headset to figure out where it is. And the other thing that I'm doing is I'm when I get to the green screen to make sure it works, I'm rotating the camera to the side. And it does say that you're not supposed to do that. So that might be why it's struggling to keep tracking. Okay, so now we've got, move it forward and backward. We've got that positional tracking. So I should be able to minimize that. Hit play again. See if that works. Okay. Sweet. All right, that's cool. That's cool. We've got positional tracking. Yeah, everything's a little bit bigger than it is on the screen. It's interestingly some of the, I don't know if you can see. Yeah, okay. I suppose yeah, maybe it's like a resolution thing. What if I hit the scale button? Is that changing on the headset? No, that's not changing it on the headset. So this might be as simple as going into my materials. Let's see if I go to assets, materials, constellation material, and just setting that line width to, so let's see, 0.001. Is that better? See. Just really gotta have like one eye on and one eye off. I want to say that'll work. Okay, cool. It's got a live update, which is really nice. So I can just nut this out, and because I'm working with the material itself, this will save even when I turn off play mode. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty good. That's a bit more sensible. Okay, and now the next one is a star shader. I'm going to my star shader, and I think if I just change the star radius. Yeah, that's perfect. Oh, beautiful. Yeah, that's looking much nicer. Okay. I'm happy with that. Now the last thing is, you'll notice, I think I mentioned, oh yeah, now this overlay text is not working at all. It's a bit of a shame. Not sure how to start because it's not even, I know in the game view it's showing, but it's not even showing on the headset. Again, if I have this up, this mixed reality portal up, that's what I can see in the headset. Yeah, I can see the controllers. It's got that chaperone boundary. Yeah, that's what I can see. So I'm not sure why the UI isn't showing up. And on top of that, I'm not sure why the UI is no longer tracking, like each name of a constellation isn't exactly on the constellation. So there's a few things we're going to need to look into. I might just pop over here and start writing them down so I remember what we're up to. Let's see, I'll just write down UI not tracking and UI not showing up. And we need to get input. Okay, so I'll start by having a quick look at the UI, see if I can get that going. If I can't, then I'll look into it later and you know, spend a good amount of time figuring it out. Yeah, so for now, what I'll do is I'll just open up the script and have a look at how it works. If I had a really good memory, I'd know how it works. So just, you know. It's funny, I'll do these videos and after I've finished the video and a little bit of time's gone past, I'll get like a question about how something works. I'm like, oh man, yeah, I can't quite remember. Okay, so I'll go into Starchart, 3D VR, and now I should be able to just open that up in VS Code. It's funny, I'm not seeing a project file. I'm not seeing a C# project file. Should be able to, because if I don't have that, then I think that the scripts are gonna then all the IntelliSense won't work. Let's see how it goes. Okay, let's pop this back on. Gonna go ahead into UI, constellation overlay text. Here we go. Okay, so first of all, we got this viewport position, right, which is taking camera.main.world to viewport point. That makes sense. And then it's taking that constellation info position. Okay, so as long as it's finding that camera.main, which I'm fairly certain it does, otherwise it would have like an error. As long as it's finding that, it really should be able to show the UI. Okay. Let's see. We got this. Okay, we got our Starchart instance. That's right. We got our constellation overlay canvas. Screen space overlay. So I'm wondering. Oh, here we go. Using render mode of screen space overlay while VR is enabled will cause the canvas to continue to incur a rendering cost, even though the canvas will not be visible in VR. Okay, that's a problem. That's a problem because the entire basis of this UI is that it works with a screen space overlay. I'm not sure that it'll work with screen space camera. Let's find out. If I switch that to screen space camera, screen space camera with no specified camera acts like an overlay canvas. Let's say select camera. In the scene, I'm going to rename this to VR camera just so that we don't get confused. VR camera. Okay. Where was I? I was looking at the canvas for our constellation overlay. And now it's got a render camera's VR camera, plane distance. Okay. Let's see if that works. Oi. Okay, it's a bit big, that's alright. That's alright. Change bindings for Unity. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on there. Let's have a look. Okay. Where is that? Change bindings to Unity. Steam is not available. Some features may be disabled. I'm not sure what's happening there. See if we can close that. Hey, but we've got the UI. The UI's. You can notice that the UI is showing, which is cool. So you close that. Go back to Unity. Okay. It's working. Oh, that's awesome. That is so good. It is exactly working. Why is it? I know I'm out of focus at the moment. Come on, autofocus. What do I do if this? What do I do if it's out of focus? Oh. Okay. I'm not sure exactly. Oh, there we go. Okay, it works. got focus back. All right, so this is working perfectly. Even the sizes of the UI I'm really happy with. The only thing that's a bit weird is as I rotate the headset, then all the UI rotates with it, which, you know, you'd think would make sense. It means I can read it if my head's upside down. It's just that it's not really how we're used to seeing text. We're not used to text rotating with our head, even if it makes more sense. There's Orion. So this is one of the really cool things about this 3D, what do you call it? 3D star chart is you can see with Orion, you can really see his arms popping out. You know, his arms are really much closer than the rest of his body. It's just stuff that it's such a nice way to learn about it. This is really cool. This is awesome. This is very, very awesome. Okay, so that's working really well. I'm really happy with that. Next step is to start playing around with let's see what we can do with the input, with the controllers. Okay, there's a few things I want to do. Maybe I should write them down so that we're all on the same page. There's not much going on in the chat. Maybe I'll just write it down in the chat. Okay. Let's see. Let's go. Things I wanna do. Oh, we're out of focus again. I think it'll just fix itself. Okay, things I want to do. One is use the controllers to change how big the world is. So we could either have the stars really far away, and you know they'll still render at the same size, but what it means is there'll be no parallax. So as in the stars that are closer than the other ones, it'll all look flat. It'll look like it does from Earth, like a 2D, like the inside of a sphere. So the first thing I want to do is I want to be able to change that scale with the controller. Maybe use a touchpad to go up and down with the scale. So one is change scale. Two is I want to because we've got built in I'll show you guys what we've got built in. We've got a little time feature where we're able to change the date of where the stars, now what the stars looked like a few thousand years ago, etc., or what they will look like. So let's see, time manager. For example, if I go current year, and I just like change this, you'll see the stars moving. So this is 100,000 years ago to our current date to 100,000 years in the future. We've even got this auto update. It's a really nice way of watching it happen. 10 years per second is really slow for stars. So let's 1,000 years per second, 100,000. There we go. 100,000. No, that's 10,000 years per second. That's about the rate where we can really see the stars sort of floating around. So that's a really nice feature that I'd love to have in VR. So I'm going to go ahead and write two is time settings essentially. And the third thing I want to do, which I'm not sure we'll get to today, is we've got a lot of different constellations here. So if I go ahead into my databases, sky cultures, yeah. So I've got for each of these is a different culture has looked up at the sky and said, oh, here's this constellation, here's this story about this, you know, all these different characters that they have. So I'd love to be able to select them, you know. So what we'll do is at the moment we've got this constellations and overlay. That's a prefab of the Western sky cultures. I'd love to have one for each of the different cultures and be able to select which culture you're looking at, you know. So you could go to the Indian ones or the Belarusian. All right, we got to look that up. What's Belarusian? Bear with me here. Just need to know that. Belarusian. Russia. I should have known that. Russian name Belarusia. Okay, cool. Yeah, awesome. So see what the Russian constellations are like. It's not quite Russian, is it? It used to have a Russian name, but that looks a little bit to the west of Russia. Belarus. Okay. Okay, so that's the third thing I'd like to do is, and I'm not sure we'll get to it today, but 3 would be multiple constellations. Constellations. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at how we can get input from these VR controllers. And all we'll do is we'll see if we can. I'm pointing at the screen. See if we can log some messages as we get input from the VR controllers. Okay, so I'm gonna go into what I'll do is I'll create a new scene that we can play around with. UI testing. I'll call it input testing. Create a scene. I think we just go Control N. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Control N. Control S. I'll save it in scenes as input test. Input test. Okay. And now in scripts, I'm going to create a new folder called input. And in that input folder, we'll create a new script and we'll call it, oh, I don't know, WMR input.cs. Okay. Okay. And we'll go ahead and create a start function and an update. Okay, so now this is just going to be a little bit of mucking around, isn't it? So I'm just going to go into input. Oh, there's no IntelliSense. I was really hoping I'd get IntelliSense so I could just look at all the different options. You know, just bear with me. I'm going to see if I can get what we don't have in this project is we don't have a .csproj file here, which would hopefully give us all our IntelliSense. So I'm going to see if I can get that going. Ignore that. One way of doing that seems to work really well is opening up the project in Visual Studio rather than Visual Studio Code. So I'm just going to see if I can do that. In Preferences, I'll go to my External Tools, External Script Editor. Just going to select Visual Studio. See where it is. See, Program Files, Visual Studio, Microsoft Visual Studio. There's VS Code there. Oh, maybe I don't have it installed. I do. Visual Studio 2017. Okay, where is that? It's in the Start menu. Okay. Let's see. Properties. Shortcut to Program Files. Oh, x86, of course. So it's I've got the 32-bit version installed. Microsoft Visual Studio 2017. Community, I think. Gosh. Nope. Try that again. Visual Studio 2017. Community. Common 7 IDE. Alright. Getting there. Common 7 IDE. Now we should be able to find dev-env. That's probably it. See if that works. Okay, Visual Studio 2017, cool. Now, I'm just going to keep this up here. Now what I need to do is go ahead and open up, if I open up any script in my assets folder, then it's going to open up in Visual Studio, which will hopefully generate that .csproj file that I was talking about. Okay. So, if I close this, see, have a look at my thing. Yeah, we go. Okay. So now we've got these two files. Assembly C#.csproj and editor.csproj. Oh, and a .sln as well. I'm not sure if we need that SLN one, but nice to have it, I suppose. Alright, now hopefully now We might need to give it a minute or two, but now if I go input, it might recognize that. Here we go, input dot get. Okay, beautiful. So now I can do something like this, input dot get button. Input dot get button. Let's try this, input dot get button, and then if we look up, let's see, if I looked up that Windows Mixed Reality input page on the Unity documentation, here we go. So I believe that this is the, if I copy and paste, maybe. Oh no, okay. No, this does make sense. So hopefully if I just use that number, 18, then that'll work. Okay, so I've got the right controller here. I'm going to see if let's see, what's a simple button I can use? Maybe thumbstick, oh no, grip button. Grip button's a nice one. Okay, grip button. Press versus squeeze. I'm not sure what the difference there is. I don't think it's got sensitivity. Like, it's saying that there's a range of how tight you're pulling it. I'm not sure if that's a thing. Anyway, we'll give it a go. So if you press the right button, it's got an ID of 5. Then hopefully, that'll just that'll give us an input. Let's see if that works. So input dot get button. Button name, such as jump. This is where I'm confused because I thought we were giving it a number. Okay, we'll give that a go anyway. So log input.get button 5. Okay, I'll give that a go. Oh, I know this is probably really difficult for you to see. Hold on a second. I'll make this much bigger. Okay, so we'll try this out. Okay, I know we're getting this warning message. If I close it and open it again, it should fix itself. Okay, is that still getting an error? No, it's compiling. Alright. Create prefab is obsolete. Use save as prefab asset. Okay. I saw a comment about that in the YouTube comments. That's good to know. Alright. One to keep in mind. Okay. Go ahead and press play. Oh, and I need to attach this to a script. I'm most likely going to need to import that SteamVR prefab, that camera rig prefab. But let's see if we don't. Let's see if we don't need it. So we go VR input, and I'm just going to open up. Let's see, what do I call it? WMR input. See if that works. Okay, input button 5 is not set up. That's interesting. Edit settings input. Edit settings input. Access. Okay. File 1. Okay, mouse key or mouse button. Gosh, I'm so confused. I'm not sure if this is the avenue we're meant to be going down. I'd love a little, I don't know, like, so we've got this page that's saying, okay, Unity XR input for Windows Mixed Reality. It just doesn't have anything about scripting. Like, what's a really simple way of getting... Okay, maybe this link, Windows Developer Center. Maybe Windows will help us out. Okay, so this has got the button mapping. What I might do is I might have a look at the API for input.get button. That might be the best approach. So let's see, if I go input get button, input.get button, that's the one. Okay, okay, this string I'm a bit confused with. The name of the button is such as jump. True while the button identified by button name is held down. Okay, here we go. The button name argument will normally be one of the names in input manager such as jump or fire 1. Oh, this is interesting. Okay. Getting there, we're getting there. I wonder if... Oh, that's not it. I wonder if... Remember we were working on this SteamVR input. I wonder if this has to do with it. Let's see, I'll make this much bigger. Okay, let's see. So if I go into squeeze, here we go. Type vector 1. Out. Okay, so... Oh, so maybe this is a name of a button that we can use? Let's try it. Give it a go. Input or get button squeeze. Alright, so where's my VS Code? Okay, so if I go into... Oh, am I in the right? No, this is the wrong folder. One sec. Bear with me here. Desktop. Okay. CD Starchart 3D. Oh, 3D VR. Open up in code. Alright. This is where we were. We're going to assets, scripts, input, WMR input. Okay, get button. What was it? Squeeze. Let's see if that works. Save that. Go back into the Unity project. We're trying hitting play there. Okay, button 5. Well, that's weird because I thought I just changed it to squeeze. Compiling. Huh. Input button squeeze is not set up. Okie dokie. This is interesting. So I'm a bit confused about what's the difference between SteamVR input and project settings input. They look a little bit similar. They look kind of like similar sort of things. You know, grab, pinch, squeeze, that sort of thing. And this project settings input, let's see, jump, submit, okay. Size 18. Okay. So I wonder if we can, let's see if I can add one. If I go to, so this looks like an array, right? If I go size of 19, then it's gone ahead and copied that last one. So if I go into cancel, instead the name can be squeeze. I'll make it a lowercase squeeze so that we know that it's us who wrote it. Positive button is 5. That should be an integer value. Button to be pressed for movement in positive direction. Yeah, and we know it's 5 because if we go back to our manual, input, our right grip button is 5. That's what I'm counting on here. Okay, and now type key or mouse button. I'm not sure what this axis is because it shouldn't have an axis, right? Unless it's like if you had a trigger, which is a button and an axis, like it's got a amount that it could be squeezed. That might be it. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if this is working. If I press play now, and first I've got to rename input.getButton. I've got to rename that to squeeze with a lowercase. Actually, I really want to make sure, like, be really explicit here. We'll say WMR underscore squeeze. Okay, that's like our name that we've named it. WMR underscore squeeze. Okay, let's see if that works. So at least we shouldn't get this error that's saying it's not set up. That's how it should work. Okay, false. Okay, cool. So, okay, it's not working. That's all right. See, in SteamVR, we don't have it. It's not even, the controller isn't even on here. So I'm thinking that we do need that OpenVR prefab, the camera rig prefab. So I'm gonna jump into SteamVR prefabs camera rig. Just pop that in here. See if that helps it out. Okay, now we should be able to. It should be able to view from the camera setting, from a camera perspective. Let's make sure that's working. Yeah, okay, so we got the cameras working. There wouldn't be anything on the controllers themselves. On tracking change. Okay, and I'll make sure that this right controller is being... Okay, so you see how this controller isn't even seen? I'm thinking that somehow it's not set up in SteamVR properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close SteamVR. I'm going to close Windows Mixed Reality. And then I'm going to press play again, which will hopefully be like a reboot. Hi, Harold. What time is it in Norway? Okay. Okay, cool. And this is working now because we've got this right controller. So if I press the button, we're not getting any. You see this little animation as well? We got the animation, but we're not getting the input. Okay. So that's cool. We're getting there. Let's go back into our preferences, our project settings, input, positive button, negative button. Key or mouse button. I wonder if that's a problem. Maybe it's not supposed to be that. Or maybe it's got to do with this SteamVR input. We've sort of got to somehow create a new action. Okay, localized string, mandatory. Yeah, I'm not sure. 5 o'clock on Wednesday the 16th. Oh yeah, it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday here as well. Hi, Edarun. Has anyone in the chat worked with VR input before? I seem to be at a bit of a wall here because we've got our controller input. I've got this page here that's telling me Windows Mixed Reality works with it's got these button IDs. And I'm hoping that somehow we can say, oh, okay, use the number 5 to be able to register a press of our grip button. Select trigger. Maybe we should. I don't know if it's the answer, but we could give it a go. Maybe if we use the squeeze ID, that might work better. Give that a go. I already forgot the ID. Squeeze ID is 12. Okay. Let's try that out. Go to input, WMR squeeze, positive number 12. Do I need a negative number as well? 12. Oh, that's weird, isn't it? It's disappearing as soon as I write it. Okay, well this is interesting. It's not allowing me to input a number probably larger than 8 or something. 10. Okay, it doesn't allow me to input 10 or higher. It's a bit strange. That's very strange. Okay, so got this. I'm just trying a few different things, right? See if we can sort of narrow down what it is we can use. we've got our controller left. It has this input source, left hand. Okay. What I'm going to do, we're going to rewind a bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ignore this Windows Mixed Reality page, and I'm going to look up input for MRTK. Okay. I wonder if I should use that. Try number 12. It seems like I can't even get any number that's higher than 9. So if I go 9 and press enter, that works. If I go 10, it doesn't work. If I press enter, it just disappears, which is it's a bit weird. Okay, this is what I'm gonna try. I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna have a look at how SteamVR. I'm gonna see if there's any information on how SteamVR input works. If I can't get that, we'll have a look at MRTK. That might be the answer. Okay, so let's go into, let's see, SteamVR C# input. Here we go. Input for OpenVR controllers. That sounds right. Oh, we've looked at this page before. It's got a lot of information. It just doesn't... Oh, wait, what's this? Oh no, that's Oculus Touch. Okay. Okay, so this isn't... Looks like this isn't going to be the answer. When properly configured and connected, any OpenVR compatible controllers are internally named. Access this name through the list returned by unityengine.input.getJoystickNames. Joysticks, okay. So it seems that it thinks of them as joysticks. I didn't know that. Sorry, because I've been using key or mouse button. What if I go to joystick? Does that help? Let's see if I go 12 now. No, I still can't write that. But what I will do that thing where it said get joystick names. That'll be interesting. Input dot get joystick names. Okay. So now var names equals. Okay. I'm just gonna go ahead and print them all out. Simple bit of link. System.link. Okay, let's go names dot for each. Okay, for each name we'll just go log the name. Okay. Okay. Oh, and I'll turn off this get button as well for now. See if that works. Okay, Microsoft Virtual Academy. Let's check that out. Oh, that's strange. It's an object. That can't be the name of it. Input.getJoystickNames is an array of strings. And it's for each of them it's logging the word object. Oh no, it's empty. It's an empty string. Well, that's no good. Okay, so it looks like Windows Mixed Reality controllers don't have names. That's cool. Okay, so let's have a look at this Microsoft Virtual Academy sample for controllers. Okay. Microsoft Virtual Academy. Let's see, WMR Unity. Okay, no, this is 2D and 3D games. Okay, I wonder if I could do a sneaky YouTube video. See, I'll see if you, make sure you guys can hear that. Can you hear that? Okay, well, I'm hoping that this will give us something to do with controllers. Oh, it looks like he's not doing much coding in it. Okay. Let's see. Well, why don't I try the... I'll just try another Google search. Go with Unity, WMR controller, input, C#. Oh, Mixed Reality Academy. Okay, let's have a look at that. Mixed Reality Academy. Okay, motion controllers. That's right, isn't it? Motion controllers? MR input. Hey. I think you're onto it, Harold. Unity setup. Yep. We've got that. I wonder if this will make a difference because we're not using the, what do you call it? The native mixed reality what do you call it? A package. We're using the SteamVR package. Motion controller visualizer. That's what we want. Oh, I just had an idea. Interaction manager. Attaching UI elements to the controller. I just had an idea. We know that somehow because in your animation it's showing whether or not the buttons are working. If I went into the SteamVR source code, we'll be able to find the script that's doing that. That'll be the next step. Here we go. Touchpad input. Object.state.source.handedness. So what's this? An interaction source updated event. I don't know, this might be a bit of a rabbit hole. Okay, I might leave this one because I feel like this is the avenue of native Windows Mixed Reality setup, which I feel like that might be different from the OpenVR approach. I'm gonna have a quick look. I'm gonna have a quick look at our SteamVR SDK. Let's see. So if I go into Assets, SteamVR input. That's interesting. Action objects. Okay, that might be it. Otherwise, let's see, models. Go to prefabs or scripts. Okay, tracked objects. Menu, load level, external camera. Okay, here's an idea. Let's have a look at our controller left. It's got a SteamVR behavior pose. That might be the one. Oh, here we go. SteamVR render model. Okay, script to SteamVR render model. I think this might be it. Okay, so if we have a look at this model, it's got a SteamVR render model. Let's see, it's got an index, none. For controller right. More towards university, yeah. I mean, yeah, I could go ahead and use the native Windows Mixed Reality. It's just that if I am able to get it going with SteamVR or OpenVR, it means that if you got an Oculus or a HoloLens or a Vive, then it'll all work. But we'll see how we go. Okay, so what I want to look up is this SteamVR render model script. Let's have a look at this. Okay. There's a lot going on here. Additional controller settings for showing scroll wheel. Render model controller state. Okay, this is a really long script. Gosh. I don't know, this this might not work. Loading render model. We really want the input. Somehow input source. Set input source. Okay, SteamVR input sources. So maybe it is in this, let's see, if I go into SteamVR, SteamVR underscore input, input actions, maybe? Alright, this is getting a bit absurd. Would you guys be alright if we just watch a YouTube video on this? Is that alright? I might just do that. I might just go ahead and look up a tutorial for how to do this in SteamVR input. Let's have a go. SteamVR input. Okay. It's 20 minutes. We might be able to skip around. Let me know if you can't hear it.
We're going to be looking at input for SteamVR 2.0. I got a comment recently that talked about my old video no longer working with the most recent plugin, so I guess we're going to take another look at it. And it's a good thing that we are. They've made some really big changes with the most recent plugin, and it actually took a bit of figuring out. So hopefully you find this useful.
It does take a bit of
right
figuring
now I'm in
out.
an empty project. I just opened it and cleared a few things out.
See if I can get the resolution
the
a
first
bit
thing that
higher.
we're going to do is naturally we're going to need to get the plugin. So you'll want to go to the asset store.
Okay.
If you're like me, you've already set it up.
Okay, I might
And
skip
we're
around
gonna
if that's
be-
alright. You guys, so let me know if you can hear it
And I'm not gonna
alright.
read this entire thing to you. We're just working with. And the really big change that they've made is they sort of created a decoupling system for separating actual inputs from actions. And what we'll be doing now is we'll be creating actions within your project, and then you'll be binding those actions to particular pieces of inputs. It's more of an involved process, but it works better for users who may have different controllers. And it will be much easier for them to rebind things. And we'll see a little bit more of that when we actually go through the process. But other than that, not a ton has changed. If we go through here, we can still have 6 different types of input. So we have booleans for buttons, singles for those values on triggers that can be a value between 0 and 1, vector 2s for touchpads, vector 3, which isn't used a whole lot, pose and skeleton, which I don't really use a whole lot.
I think pose
But
would
each of
be
those has a definition
position
right
and
here,
orientation of a controller.
if you want to learn a little bit more about those. But one thing they did include for each of the actions is action sets. And this is really great if you have multiple sort of instances that your player can do things. So let's say they are walking around and they can pick things up, but there may be also times where they're in a vehicle or in a cockpit or something like that.
Interesting.
And you may need to define a new whole set of actions for that.
Pop it over to the
And what
side
these
and
action sets
I'll do
does
some
is
playing
it
around
contains a
while he's
bunch
talking.
of actions that you can basically toggle on and off. So it's a really great way to organize what your player can do at a particular point in time. They've also added a lot of new windows for testing input and setting it all up. And we're going to be taking a look at this in just a second. But this is only about 10 pages, but let's go ahead and go back into Unity. So let's go ahead and look at that new SteamVR window. So if we go over to our window, we're going to go to our SteamVR input. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to be creating our JSON for our actions. So let's go ahead and hit yes. And the plugin
Thanks,
has
Harold.
already
Good to
gone
hear.
ahead and loaded some of the basic binding files for these actions to inputs. But let's go ahead and clear that and let's not worry about it too much. So what this window already has is a few action sets that are already set up. We have our default, our platformer, as well as a buggy thing. Not exactly what that is, but if we can go ahead and click through here, and each of these will have different actions. I believe the buggy, yes, it's just going to be for a sort of vehicle controls. But
Buggy.
primarily
Oh,
we're
buggy.
gonna
I
be
thought it
looking
meant
at
like
default
it's got bugs.
Each of these actions is very similar to how they were before, where each action can either be a button press where it has an up state and a down state, or it's a value between 0 and 1, or it's a vector 2, kind of like how I just mentioned before. But if we go through here, we can see that each of these actions have a few things for them. So it has a name, a type, and if it's required or not. And that's sort of like when a user is rebinding the action, you need to make sure that they are rebinding it because it is absolutely necessary for them to progress through the game. Like if you have to teleport, you need to make sure that they are rebinding your teleport to a particular button. But for each of these actions, the big thing is going to be the type. Boolean primarily being for buttons. And if we click through here, we'll realize that
Looks
a
like
lot
he's
of these
going
are
into the
actually buttons,
SteamVR
with the
settings.
exception of the squeeze here, which
Go
is
ahead
going to
and
be a
do that.
vector 1, which is going to be that value between 0 and 1 for the trigger. But just as an example, if I wanted to go ahead and add my own action, I can go ahead and hit this plus here, and we're going to create a vector 2 for the touchpad touch. And usually you would want to give it an actual action name, like move or crouch or something like that. Those are probably not very good examples, but let's go ahead and just call this touchpad touch, because we're going to be getting the touch value of the touchpad, which makes sense for right now. So once we've done that, we're going to want to change, because it does have a X and a Y value for the touchpad. So let's go ahead and click that, and let's go ahead to
Suppose I'll follow
Alright,
along.
so now we have
Let's
our
see, I'll go
actions.
touchpad touch.
And as of right now, we necessarily don't have any functionality for each of these actions, and we've also haven't bound these actions to any actual input.
Save
So
and
let's go
generate.
ahead and do that. And we can do that by going to Open Binding UI. And this is going to open something in your web browser. It's going to be on a local host, but it's going to open in whatever your default web browser is. So I'm going to go ahead and click this. And once that's been opened, this is what you should see. As of right now, I'm not logged into Steam, so that's why I'm getting Steam is not available. But right now I have my regular Vive controller connected, and we have our default Vive controller binding that comes with the plugin. So let's go ahead and edit that. And you'll be presented with this screen, which basically has each of our action sets that were created by the plugin. And we'll currently have how each of these inputs here are bound to our actions. And as an example, right now our trackpad is being used as a button, and if we click it, it's going to access that teleport action. And same thing for the grip. And if you remember, each of the values on those actions were booleans, meaning they can be used as buttons. And for our trackpad, we gave it a vector 2 for our touch. And since that is not a boolean, obviously, we're going to need to set our trackpad up as an actual trackpad and not a button. So if we go ahead and hit this plus here, we're going to be able to use our trackpad as things that are not a button, but in this case a trackpad. So if we go ahead and click that, we're going to be given these extra fields for clicking the trackpad touch as well as position. And if you remember, we set our new action to touchpad touch, so if we go ahead and click that, it'll set it up right there. One thing to note is when you're making these changes that having mirror mode checked to make sure that both controllers are using the same actions. And you may want to not have that clicked if you want the left and the right controllers to have different functionality. This binding setup also has an input debugger and can also let you change a few of the settings of your bindings. So in this case, we have the ability to invert our y-axis or our x-axis, seeing that it's the touchpad. So let's go ahead and close this out, and let's go ahead and replace our default binding. So we go ahead and click save. It's going to create that JSON file to put into our project. And one way of us actually being able to look at that is if we can show our developer output. This is basically what is going to be imported into Unity, which has our action sets and then each of our actions. And that's about it for that. There's a lot to process here, so spend a bit of time playing around with this. If you want the left and the right controllers to have different functionality. This binding setup also has an input debugger.
So I was sort of half listening while I'm trying to get this working. My understanding is that once we get the controllers open in this binding UI, what we need to do is we need to change this name of what it's going to be sent to equal this name here, and then I believe this gentleman's going to show us how to open that up in C# and work with it. So let's see if we can get to that stage. Open the bindings UI. Okay, so at the moment you'll notice that SteamVR isn't recognizing the controllers. Let's see. I wonder if I press play on my game, whether that'll wake the controllers up. I've got a gamepad plugged in as well, which is interesting. Like that's showing up as well. Like you could use either a gamepad or a VR controller. Might do it. Yeah, we'll see how we go. But that I could end up doing that. Okay, so now we've got both the controllers registered. Seems like I had to press play to get that up. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to reopen this bindings UI. See if that's gonna show them up. Okay, so maybe I need to create a binding for, let's see, for the mixed reality controllers, I think. Okay, I'm gonna try and, hold on a sec, I'm just gonna try and unplug the game controller, see if I can get the Windows mixed reality controllers to show up. Okay. So now the game controller is unplugged. See if we can open up this binding UI. Okay, that didn't help. Current controller, can I change that? Ah, here we go. So what I had to do was I had to click on current controller to Windows Mixed Reality controller. Okay. Default. These are the official bindings published by the developer of the game. Okay. Never mind that. Okay. Oh, interesting. Squeeze means squeeze the trigger. That's good to know. Okay. Wow, this is advanced. Chords. I'm imagining chords is a combination of buttons. Might be wrong. Okay. So, let's see. What are we okay? Mirror mode means same for left, same for right. That makes sense. So in the video, let's see, what's his name? VR with Andrew. VR with Andrew said we need to go to our trackpad and give it a touchpad touch binding. Okay, so touch. Nope. Okay. Button. Wait, I'm just gonna jump back and see how he did that. Trackpad. Okay, so let's see. He had that button,
which basically has each of our action sets that were created by the plugin, and we'll currently have how each of these inputs here are bound to our actions. And as an example, right now our trackpad is being used as a button, and if we click it, it's going to access that teleport action. And same thing for the grip. And if you remember, each of the values on those actions were booleans, meaning they can be used as buttons. And for our trackpad, we gave it a vector 2 for our touch. And since that is not a boolean, obviously, we're going to need to set our trackpad up as an actual trackpad and not a button. So if we go ahead and hit this plus here, we're going to be able to use our trackpad as things that are not a button, but in this case, a trackpad. So if we go ahead and click that, we're going to be given these extra fields for clicking the trackpad, but in this case,
I missed it again. Sorry, guys. I was looking at something else.
We're going to need to set our trackpad up as an actual trackpad and not a button. So if we go ahead and hit this plus here,
plus button, okay. And then what's he going to press? He's going to press.
Be able to use our trackpad as things that are not a button.
Interesting. Okay, so we go into our. Let's see if I got this right. Our trackpad. I'm going to leave the button as it is, and if I go to open up another one, use left Windows Max Reality Controller trackpad as trackpad. Okay, here we go. So now I believe position. Let's see if it is position.
But in this case, a trackpad. So if we go ahead and click that, we're going to be given these extra fields for clicking the trackpad, touch, as well as position. And if you remember, we set our new action to touchpad touch. So if we go ahead and click that, it'll set.
Oh, that's interesting. That it's. Let's see if I've got that. Yeah, it does. Okay, so because we've created this variable, where is it? Okay, because we've created this variable up here, I can almost touch it where it says touchpad touch. It looks like that's come up in this menu. Let's go ahead and experiment with that. I want to make sure. So I'll create another one for touchpad press. Seems that if I capitalize it, it just makes it all lowercase. Touchpad press. Okay, so if yep, so Boolean, that's correct. So I save and generate that one. Hopefully we should see that come up in our trackpad. This is a lot more involved than I thought it would be. I thought it would just be like input.get button, something like that. But this, I mean, it's really good because it means that we can do all these quite clever things. All right. Okay, so now if we jump into our, let's see, trackpad, left Windows Mixed Reality Controller as a trackpad. Oh, that's interesting. It looks like it's all empty now. Just gonna make sure that I'm gonna refresh that. Okay, current controller we'll set to Mixed Reality Controller. Okay, now this is a new screen. Default bindings. Local changes. Okay, yeah, this is looking right. Okay, trackpad, users trackpad. Okay, so now if I go to click, hopefully, I'll click the edit button, click, touchpad press. Okay, so because trackpad click is a Boolean value, it's either clicked or it's not, then only the Boolean input actions are showing up here. So we've got this one that we've created that called touchpad press, and that's showed up in our Boolean. So now when we click the trackpad, then somehow that's going to link to this action set. I'm going to do the same for position, touchpad touch. Yeah, no, that's good. Touchpad touch, okay, and now one last thing is to double check that it's happening on the left and the right. So we've got mirror mode. Maybe they'll just happen automatically. Okay. Okay, so I think we're ready for the next stage.
Set it up right there. One thing to note is when you're making these changes that having mirror mode checked to make sure that both controllers are using the same actions. And you may want to not have that clicked if you want the left and the right controllers to have different functionality. This binding setup also has an input debugger and can also let you change a few of the settings of your bindings. So in this case, we have the ability to invert our y-axis or our x-axis, seeing that it's the touchpad. So let's go ahead and close this out, and let's go ahead and replace our default binding. So we go ahead and click save. It's going to create that JSON file to put into our project. And one way of us actually being able to look at that is
if we're getting this input here.
Output.
It's really good.
This is basically what is going to be imported into Unity, which has our action sets and then each of our actions.
I keep getting distracted and sorry guys, I'm just going to rewind again. I keep getting distracted and
seeing that it's the touchpad.
Not listening to it.
So let's go ahead and close this out, and let's go ahead and replace our default binding.
Replace default bindings. Got it.
So we go ahead and click save. It's going to create that JSON file to put into our project. And one way of us actually being able to look at that is if we can show our developer output. This is basically what is going to be imported into Unity, which has our action sets and then each of our actions and its binding. And that's about it for that. There's a lot to process here, so spend a bit of time playing around with this. But for now, let's go ahead and hop back into Unity, where we're now actually going to write some code where we can actually take those actions that we created and their bindings and then actually set up some functionality for them. So let's go ahead and just dock this really quick. Let's go over to our project and we'll create a new script and we'll just call this vibe input. And let's go ahead and open that up. Alright, so now that we're in our vibe input script, the first thing that we're going to want to do is actually add the valve.vr namespace up at the top. So we'll be using valve.vr. This is going to give us access to all of the SteamVR actions that we're going to be needing. So let's go ahead and reformat this. And we're going to be keeping our update for this. And we're going to be doing this a couple different ways. And I think the first thing we're going to do is maybe the more sort of obtuse but a little bit more straightforward way, where it's going to be that the simple if statement that we're going to be testing the down state of our grip or the teleport. I think we'll do the teleport first. So let's write if, not of, and it's going to be SteamVR underscore input default. If you remember, our action set is one of them is named default, so we're going to be accessing that one. Our in actions, and then teleport. A teleport, if you remember, is going to be, I don't think I explicitly said it, but it's going to be our touchpad. but I'll also do the grab grip so you can see that as well. And then once we've defined our action, we want to say if we want to get the state up or down, like regular input. So we'll do get state down, and then we have to give it an input source, whether it's going to be our left or right controller or any of them. So let's write SteamVR underscore input source, and this is going to be an enum input sources, and we're going to be using any, so we're not necessarily going to care if it's the left or the right controller. And that's a really basic way of testing an action for input. And just so we can get a better idea of this teleport, I'm going to go ahead and open up that binding again, so hold tight really quick. So now we're back in our binding window, and we're going to take a closer look at this touchpad button. That for the click, for it being used as a button, our click is going to be our teleport action. So hopefully you're sort of getting the connection that we have between the binding menu, our actions, and then our actual functionality. Same thing for our trigger that's going to be used as a button, which is going to be the action grab pinch. So we're going to be setting that one up next. So let's go back into Visual Studio. So we have this teleport get state down from any of our buttons. So let's go ahead and make a print statement that we'll just call this teleport down.
I didn't know you could print
now let's
in
just
Unity.
create an upstate for
Let's use
our
log.
grippy grabby thingy. Never remember the name of it. So let's go ahead and we'll just cut that.
In actions, okay, interesting.
I believe it's grab pinch for the trigger, so let's go ahead and hit that, and then we'll paste it.
SteamVR.
in. So we'll have our in actions, our grab pinch, and our get state down from anything. Well, we'll change this to up actually, so we can test both of those.
In
And
actions.
we'll just call this grab pinch up. Alright, and this is very basic. This is just button input. So now we actually, maybe we want to get our trigger value or that touchpad value that we just created. And we're going to be using a different way than how we've been doing it for these two if statements here, for these other two. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a public SteamVR action, and we're going to be using single. Now for each of the actions, it's going to have a different class for each of the return values basically. And for this case, for our single, it's going to be that squeeze action on the trigger. So actually, let's go back into that binding menu so we can actually look at that again. So for our trigger, when we're using it as a button and we click it down, it's going to be this action. But we're going to be setting up when it's being used as a trigger. And when we pull it, we're going to want to have the squeeze action. And what this is going to do is actually return the value of how much the trigger has been pulled down. One more time back in Visual Studio. So now we're in the middle of creating this action, and we're going to go ahead and just call it squeeze action for simplicity. And having it as a public field up here, it's going to enable us to be able to change it from the inspector. And we'll do that once we've set up both this single action as well as our vector 2 action for our trackpad.
Interesting.
So we can also go ahead and do our public
I'm most interested in how we create our own ones.
action vector 2.
Public,
and we'll just
like
call
how
this
he's doing now.
We'll call it touchpad action.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Let's
SteamVR
go down here and
action.
create a couple if statements.
Boolean,
for those.
okay.
And since these aren't buttons, we're not going to have the normal if statement. What we're going to have is a value to sort of store the value that we're getting from that action. So if we have a vector, well actually we'll start with our single. So if we have a float, we'll be calling it our trigger value. And we'll be setting it to our squeeze action dot get axis. And we'll be just passing any controller.
Whoops.
And what this is going to do is it's just going to get that value from the squeeze action, which is currently mapped to our trigger. And we'll just have a quick if statement here to print something out if the trigger value is greater than 0.
Okay.
Just like
This
that.
is starting to make
Now let's
sense.
go ahead and do the same for our touchpad action, where we're going to be returning a vector 2. So we'll just call this touchpad value, and it's going to be equal to our touchpad action dot get access.
Okay.
And we'll do the same to 0, then we'll want to print it out. So it'd just be our touchpad value is going to not equal victor2 dot 0. And then we'll just want to print that out. Just like that. Alright, and that about does it for the actual code for this project.
Let's see if I've got this right. I'm just gonna see if I've got it right, and then I'll have another look and do some explaining. Okay. So hopefully, first of all, we've got to make sure that our controllers are connected. So they don't seem to be. Okay, yeah, no, we got controllers. Now, if I press on the controller, touchpad pressed. Look at it. Cool. Oh, that's awesome. Wow. Wow, that's a few steps. That's quite a few steps. I'm not surprised that we weren't able to just get that out of the gate. Okay. I'm gonna close this input for now because I believe that we've got all the information we need. So I'm gonna close this YouTube video, and I'm gonna go back over the steps of how we got this going. Okay. So step one is in our SteamVR input. It seems that what this is doing is this is procedurally creating a class. So if we go ahead and or either a class or a scriptable object. What's that? Dot asset. Yeah, okay, yeah, I think it is a scriptable object. Okay, so it's procedurally creating a scriptable object with a name and a type. So it'll either be a Boolean or a vector2 or or even just a float. Let's see. Yeah, float vector1. Yeah, vector1, which is a float. 2, 3. Pose, which is just a vector3 plus a quaternion, I believe. Might have a scale as well. And skeleton, I'm not sure about. Skeleton might be 3 poses, maybe. Okay, so now we know that we've got that scriptable object. I'll do another one as an example. Let's say, for example, let's see if we want to just let's start really simple. I wonder if we could do that. Probably not. I reckon if I get rid of these ones, then we won't be able to. That's probably what VR relies on. What SteamVR relies on to track the controllers. So I won't delete everything. Instead, I'll create a new one. I'll create a new one and I'll call it. It's a new action. I'm gonna call it. I don't know. I'll call it pirate squeeze, well, pirate grip, because I know there already is a grip, but I want to do it myself so that we've got that, we know how to do it. Okay, so I'll call it pirate grip, and it'll be a Boolean. Okay, and then we'll go ahead. We've got to press save and generate, and that's step one. So we could think of it as 3 steps. Okay, step one is to generate this scriptable object with a name and a type. Step 2 is to link our controller's input to that object. And step 3 is to write some code which references that object, references the scriptable object. Wait, I should call it an action. Okay, that's what SteamVR is calling it. So step 1 is create a SteamVR action. Step 2 is link a controller input to that action. And step 3 is to write some code to speak to that action, so to interact with the action. Okay, so once that's loaded, we're able to open up that UI bindings. Open binding UI. Okay, so that's the first step. This is step 2. Default bindings, local changes. Okay. Oh gosh, I don't know. I might have. See how it says official bindings? I might have edited the official one. Oh well. What are you gonna do? Okay, so now I've got my controller. What I want is not the trigger, not the trackpad. I want the grip. Okay. So grab grip. At the moment, it's assigned to an action called grab grip. And I know, okay, so it's already got an action, but we want to do it ourselves so that we learn how to do it. Grab grip. I'm going to select pirate grip. Now, only the Boolean actions will show up here because it's a Boolean input. Okay, so we'll select pirate grip. And then I've got to press. Oh, that's why. Because I pressed replace default binding. That's what I shouldn't have done. That's what he did in the tutorial. Anyway. I think what we really should do is save a personal binding. Let's see, and I'll call this one Pirates Bindings for, that's a very long name, for WMR controllers. Okay, save that. Okay, so we've saved that personal binding. And now, hopefully, I'm not sure how we say this is the one we want to be, like, enabled, the binding we want to be enabled. Hopefully it's just figured that out. Go back. Current binding. Pirates bindings. Okay, yeah, okay, that's cool. So maybe if we go to view and then we could, like, select this binding. Okay, sorry. Select this binding. I believe if I went select this binding, it would go back to default. Yeah, okay, cool. What I'm gonna quickly do is I'm gonna I know this might be, it's kind of just like as much mucking around as we can do to get the feel for it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna undo the changes I made to the default bindings. I want to keep those kind of pure default bindings, and then we'll just play around with our own personal bindings. So what I'm gonna do is in the trackpad, all I'm going to do is remove this touchpad touch. That's the only change we'd really made. Position equals none. Okay. So now it says default. So I'm going to go ahead and press replace default bindings. Rename this back to default bindings for Windows mixed reality controllers. Save that. Okay. So that's done. Now I can go back to Pirates bindings for Windows mixed reality controllers and go, as you can see that, select this binding. Save. Okay, current binding is a pirate binding for WMR controllers. So let's go ahead and, okay, so now we've done step 1 is create our pirate grip. Step 2 is bind the grip button to the pirate grip action. And step 3 is to go into our code, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new public SteamVR action boolean and call it pirate grip action. Pirate grip action, and then if pirate grip action dot get state down log pirate grip down. Okay, if pirate grip action dot get state down log pirate grip down. Pirate grip down. Okay. Now I think we just test. I think. Yeah, touchpad press and pirate grip down. Okay. Oh, no. Now I've got to hook up this variable to our pirate grip action. There we go. Actions default in pirate grip. The only thing is I've noticed that this really should be in its own actions folder. At the moment it's in the default folder. I probably don't want that. That said, this isn't changing like some master file that'll happen for every project. All this stuff exists in, we could probably look it up. In fact, we're right here. You can see. Oh no, you can't see. Hold on a sec. This is all just in our local assets folder. So any changes I make here, it's not like I'm going to change it, I don't know, on the SteamVR app or anything like that. So it's probably not so important. Anyway, I'm going to select pirate grip action and go ahead and press play. Make sure that in SteamVR we got the controllers are connected. I'm going to clear the console And here we go, pirate grip down. So I'm clicking on the grip buttons and we're getting that grip. I'll say that we're officially across how SteamVR and OpenVR input works. Very good sign. Let's see. I might just take a quick break. That's alright, like 2 minutes. Just, I don't know, have a bit of a stretch. Yeah, I'll just put on a 2-minute timer. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Okay, timer. Okay. I'll be back. Three, two, one. All right, sweet as. Okay, and we're back. Now let's grab that. I'll grab that chat back up. Where did that go? Because the next step is. Oh, you guys are getting the audio now. That's awesome. I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the only one listening to it. Yeah, man, I've been listening to Synthwave FM. It's a I guess like what you call a tribute radio station for Grand Theft Auto Vice City. It's a really good one. Okay, where was I? Yeah, are the levels alright? Like you still hear me over it? Yeah, it's looking good. I think that's fine. Okay, so as I wrote in the chat, there's two things we're going to really concentrate on, and the other one we might do a bit later. The first thing is we're going to be able to change the scale with the controller, so make the world really big, make the world really small, based on our controller input. And the other thing we're going to do is change the time scale, so either enable and disable the auto time thing, or be able to set the date inside VR. Okay. So, first of all, let's look at how the scale is working at the moment. If you go into our assets, I'm gonna go back to our original scene now. We sort of got a feel for how VR works. Let's see, main, okay. Save, okay. So we've got our main scene. We've got our stars. I'm also just going to change so that, let's see, there's no skybox for the background. Okay. So we've got our stars. What we've It's orientating. What we've got is our Starchart instance, our time manager. You know, I can't remember how I did this. I'm sure there's a... I thought that I had this set as like a variable, but maybe we haven't even covered this in the series yet. We'll see how we go. I believe all we've got to do is change the scale of our Starchart instance, unless that does something really goofy. Okay, so we'll see if that works. Okay, we've got an error. IVR render models. Interesting. Oh, because SteamVR isn't running. That's what was happening there. Oh no, I wonder, am I gonna get in trouble for streaming someone else's music? Oh well. It's a live stream. What can we do? Okay, what have we got? We got our constellations. Okay, what we don't have is the controllers on our SteamVR, but we can leave that for the moment, because what I need to figure out is if this scale is going to work. So if I go scale, if I change the scale instead of 1 by 1 by 1 to like 100 by 100 by 100, everything will be really far away. Am I wrong? Oh gosh. Okay. There may be more to this than I originally thought. Because that obviously did not work. 1 by 1 by 1. Okay, what if we went the other way? What if we went to really small? 0.01 by 0.01 by 0.01. And you can't see anything. Now the reason why I'm surprised about this is because we've got shaders, which my understanding was that our shaders would render things relative to the screen size. But maybe it takes into account the scale as well. That's alright, we're going to need another approach. Okay, so because the shaders also think about how the object's scaled. What we're going to need to do is we're going to need to create a new variable. Create a new variable in our shaders. Let's have a look. We're going to create a new shader variable, which will be the scale. I believe that's going to be the best way to do it. So if we go ahead and open up our shaders, I'll just show you guys. We'll refresh all of our memories on how this works. So we've got our, let's see, we're going scripts, shaders. Let's take our star shader for instance. Now, star shader, one thing that is currently working with our with the positions of the stars is because we know for each star we know its position and its velocity, how many parsecs per year it's moving in, which means that we're able to change what point in time we're looking at the star at, right? You know, so if you multiply that velocity by 10, that'd be 10 years in the future, etc. So what I'm thinking we might be able to do is, as well as that, we could have as well as a time scale, we could have a size scale, which will mean that, which will mean we'll be able to make the stars closer or further away, essentially. We'll see how it goes. It might work. Hopefully it'll work. Okay, so how this works, if I have a look at my star shader, is, let's see, okay. So this is really cool because we don't need to worry about the geometry shader at all. All we're worried about, all we're looking at rather, we're not worried at all. All we're looking at is our vertex shader. All it does is it takes a position, it doesn't convert it to clip space or anything like that, it just takes a position and it moves it however much that time scale is. And this is a function, this J2000 offset, this is a function in our utility class, our shader utility, well, utility file, I suppose you call it. And all it does is take this this global variable called J2000 offset, and it multiplies, position plus velocity times J2000. Okay, so that's great. That works really well. What we're going to do is we're going to add another one. I really should create a new function rather than just attaching it to the J2000 one. So let's create a new function. We'll call it float for get scale offset, and we'll pass in the pos. And yeah, we're just going to pass in the pos because what we'll do is we'll apply the J2000 offset and then we'll apply the scale. Okay, and all we're going to do is we're going to return pos times, we'll have a new variable, we'll call it scale offset. Scale offset, return pos times scale offset. Okay. Okay, yeah, this should, I haven't really considered everything, so I'm not sure if this is going to work. We'll find out. So at the moment, o.pos equals get J2000 offset, v.pos. What we're going to do is we're just going to, for now, we're just going to say o.pos equals get scale offset. Get scale offset and pass in o.pos. So we're really just going to, once we've got its position relative in time, then we'll get its position as in distance from the origin of the yeah, well, how far away from 0, 0, 0 the position is. And now I'm just going to do the same thing with the constellation shader. They're identical. So I'll go ahead and go o.pos equals get scale offset, pass in o.pos. Okay. And last thing we've got to do is it's really nice if you've got a pattern in whatever project you're working on to just copy that pattern. You know, so for example, our pattern or I'll call it a pattern or design pattern, whatever, of our time scale is to say we've got a mono behavior called time manager, and that time manager is able to change our change our J2000 offset variable. And we'll do exactly the same thing for our scale offset. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new class. Let's see, in utilities maybe. Okay, editor, no. Info classes, input, no. Instance managers. Just trying to remember where our time manager is. I think it was called time manager. Let's have a look. Time manager. Okay, the script is called time manager. Let's do a quick search for it. Gosh, script settings. Okay, that makes sense. Got a folder called settings in here, and we've got a time manager in there. So inside that settings folder, I'm going to create a new script. I'm going to call it scale manager. CS, and it's going to be almost identical to our time manager. So I'm just going to copy and paste time manager, rename it to scale manager, and we'll have a float called scale. By default, it'll equal 1. It'll be a range from, we don't want it to be negative. That would make all the stars invert. So we really want the range to be from 0 to maybe, let's see, if the range is 0, that means all the stars would be at the origin. So all the stars would be in the 1 position. So if we make it 10, that would be even further away. Probably don't need the scale to be that big, because at 1, they're sort of, out of interest, the unit is in parsecs. Let's see if we can do the calculate, like just get a feel for it. Just like bear with me here. What I'm going to do, we got to get a feel for what the scale is, how the scale is working, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Google, and I'm just going to search for Alpha Centauri, which is the closest star. It's not a star, it's a star system. It's a binary star system like Tatooine. And we're going to find out how far away it is. In meters. In VR it'll be in meters. Because the conversion is from meters to parsecs. So let's go ahead and look that up. We go Alpha Centauri, distance from Earth, parsecs. There we go, 1.3. Oh, that's really nice. So Alpha Centauri is about 1.3 meters away, which means if we multiply it by 10, the closest star will be 10 meters away, 13 meters away. And that makes a lot of sense. That'll be fine. I think we'll probably be able to see a little bit of parallax if we move our head, but not very much. We'll give it a try. Okay, so range from 0 to 10. On validate, we'll have a function called set scale offset. Scale offset, and we'll call this scale, floater's scale. We're not going to need to subtract 2000 from it. Auto update, we don't need any of that. All we really need is on validate. On validate, set scale offset. Set scale offset with scale. Okay. And we can take off this whole update. Okay, and then we just got to rename this global float. I believe it's called, let's see, oopsie days. It's called scale offset. Okay. Let's see if this works. It might, if I jump back into Unity now, everything might go to the 1 position because we haven't set up the scale manager yet, which I believe will set this variable scale offset. It'll set that to 0. I believe that's how it'll work. I'm not sure, but we'll find out. I wonder if we could set a default value. Well, I'll play with that later. Okay. So I remember I was playing around with, oh, wait a minute. Oh wait, the shaders are just, the scripts are loading. Okay, so I believe what's happening now is as I described, is because we haven't set up our scale manager. I'll just rename this time manager to just the settings. Is that alright? Rename this to settings, add in a scale manager. Scale manager. Okay. Oh, yay! I love it when it just works. Okay, so that's working. Let's see if it scale. We change the scale. Okay. Wait a minute. Okay, so I believe. Now this is where you might be like, oh, it's not working because you look in the game view, it's all looking the same. I think it is working. I think this is how it's supposed to work. Because, as I described earlier, our stars are meant to be relative to the screen space. I'll just show you exactly what I mean here. If I go to Assets Materials and go to our star shader, star radius is quite a low number, right? 0.13. I believe that is relative to the screen size, not to how far away it is. We pass in as a variable to the shader how far away it is, and then it does a calculation with that with a bit more cleverness, so that we can say, I'm not sure if it's in here, so that we can say, yeah, we'll muck around with it. So we can say, don't worry about how far away it is. So what I did there is I said, all the stars be the same size. If I put this to 5, I say, I want a massive difference in how big the star is. So that's why we have it working that way. What's the original value? 2.3. Ah, no. Okay, so yeah, so that's how that works. How do I redo? Undo, redo. Anyone know the shortcut? It might be Control Y. Okay, yeah, there we go. Okay. Control Y for redo in Unity. Okay, so I think this is working. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press play and see if it's working with the headset. What we should see, it's nice to hypothesize about how things are going to work. So I'm thinking about how it should work, and then I'll have a better feel for whether or not it is working. So let's go ahead and hit play. how it should work is when the scale set to 1, they should all be at that position we saw before with Alpha Centauri 1.3 meters away. And if I set it to 10, I shouldn't be able to see much when I move my head. They should all look really far away. And if I set it to a really low number, I should be able to see the entire, I don't know call it, the entire database. Database is a boring word. It really is the closest 100,000 stars in our neighborhood, I guess you call it. The closest 100,000 stars, we could be able to see it in like a little ball, like of 10 centimeters, so that you can sort of look around it. That's what we should be able to see. Okay, so yeah, so I'll just repeat myself one more time. If we set the scale to 1, it should be a distance of 1 meter of Alpha Centauri. If we set it to 10, it should be a distance of 10 meters. If we set it to 0.1, it should be a distance of 10 centimeters. Okay. Out of interest, it looks like it just crashed. Crashed or closed nicely. Maybe because the headset's asleep. Try it again. Okay. Gonna have to take off the headset. You might be wondering why the microphone still works. I'm using this microphone on the headset so that I can hear myself, and I've got a microphone just up here, which is what's going into the live stream. Okay, we've got everything's working here. Able to see it all right. Okay, now we've got our scale at 0.5. If I change that, this weird thing happens with Windows Mixed Reality. If I do this, if I close it, you notice, I don't know if you can see it. Should be able to, oh yeah, you can. Yeah, so you see at the top here, it says Windows Y to use the desktop instead of the headset. It kind of, Windows Mixed Reality, it takes control of your keyboard and mouse so that you're able to click on stuff in Mixed Reality, but I don't want to do that. So I'm going to press Windows Y. And now I should be able to do this. Should be able to change the scale. Okay, it is working. It is working. It is working, guys. This is really good news. I don't know if you can. I think you can see this. It looks ridiculous. The constellations at these low scales look absolutely ridiculous. And you'll notice some of the stars disappearing. That's because our camera's clip planes are not set properly. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to set our camera clip planes. If I go to VR camera, and at the moment it's got a clipping plane of 1,000, and some of the stars are going to be more than 1,000 meters away. So I'm going to set that to as big as I can possibly get it. And that should help that out. Let's see, I'll go to my settings, scale manager. Okay, so now everything's so far away that this is the real difference. Now everything's so far away that if I move my head from left to right, it all looks kind of the same, right? There's not much of a difference. I can't really see much of how far away everything is. Only a little bit. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go into my scale. I'm going to change it to 1. Let's go ahead and see how that looks. So now you can see, I'm hoping you guys, even if you can't see it, but you should be able to see there's a bit of a parallax there, which means that as I move my head, then I'll just make the screen a bit bigger for you guys. As I move my head, you're able to see what's closer and further away. If that makes sense. I think that makes sense, yeah. So you can see some stars, I know I'm pointing, you can see some stars are closer and some stars are further away, which is really nice. Another thing which is quite cool is if we change our scale to something like 0.1, or let's say 0.01, 0.001. Yeah, okay. So this is quite interesting. This is where we have the entire, the entire section of the galaxy is all in one sort of space. I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller. And I'm also going to turn off the constellations for now, because if you're doing the constellations, it just looks like a bunch of lines. So I'll turn that off. Okay. So now we can see the stars are kind of in this ball, which is quite interesting. Quite an interesting thing to look at. Yeah, and it looks like a bit of a. It's quite crowded in the middle there as well. One thing I want to point out, which I find pretty cool, is you'll notice that it almost looks like there's a bit of a line here. Like there's I'm hoping this will come out, but you can see how right now how I'm looking to the left and the right. We can see there's more stars. It almost looks like there's a bit of a ring, and that's because our galaxy is shaped like a pancake, right? Just like our solar system. Even though I don't think they're on the same axis, but because the galaxy is shaped like a pancake, there's more stars in that ring, which is why we can sort of see that. Okay, anyway, that's the scale working well. Gosh, okay, now we've got time working well, we've got scale working well, we're able to play with those. All we need to do now is map them to our VR headset. Okay. So, what do we need? For scale it's quite easy. For scale we could just say use the left controller, something like that. For time, there's a few more options. So for time, we can say, let's have a look at our time settings. For time, we can say, do you want to auto update or not? Auto update just means that the sky will move at, say, 10,000 is a better number. The sky will move at 10,000 years per second. We also want a reset button. I should write this out. I'll write it out in the chat again. Okay. VR button mapping. Okay, we have, what do we have? We have, first of all, okay, the easiest one is scale. So we'll start with that. Scale. Let's make it, the scale can be the controller up and down. What is that? The thumb pad. Rather than, I prefer, I'm kind of, because I play a lot of Xbox, that sort of thing. I'm more used to these I don't know if you can see that. I'm more used to these thumb pads than these touch pads. So I'm going to make it scale is thumb pad up and down. Thumb pad up, down. Okay, and time, as in like current year. Current year we can say, maybe left, left, right? That makes sense. Up, down for scale, left, right for time. Yeah, that does make sense. Although, I'm a bit worried that you'd sort of accidentally move the scale a little bit when you're trying to move time. So I will make them maybe, okay, right hand for scale, left hand for time. That's a good way of doing it. The grip buttons on both will reset. So wait, I'll rewrite this. So scale, right thumb pad, up, down. Okay, reset scale will be right grip. And okay, that's looking good. Now we've got time. Time will be left thumb pad. You know, it's weird. For some reason, I feel like scale should be up and down, and time should be left and right. Sort of makes a bit more sense. So okay. So time is left thumb pad, left, right, and time is left thumb pad, left, right. And also to reset time, we're gonna. Oh, I know what's wrong. I was wondering, like, why is everything so quiet? I've stopped listening to the music. Yeah, the music stopped playing. This is all wrong. Hold on a second. I'm just gonna get the music back on. Okay. What else is good? Time cop. Time cop's pretty good. Okay, that's a bit better. So where were we up to? We've got time. It's left thumb pad, left, right. Okay, time reset. Reset time. Time is left grip. And we want one more button for auto update. So to toggle auto update. I'm just going to make that to click on the left thumb pad. I know, I'm kind of showing you, but I'm not really showing you. Okay, to click on the left thumb pad. Time auto update. Update left thumb pad. Click. The only other thing I'm thinking is, do we want to add in here is, do we want to do years per second as well? I'm wondering if that just might be a bit too much input. We might make that a unchangeable. Might make years per second unchangeable. Okay. What are we up to? Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and make a new script. We'll call it VR WMR input. In fact, we've already got our WMR input script. We might as well just use that. Okay. First of all, we're going to need to reference those time and scale managers. Public time manager. And we'll do the same for scale manager. Okay, scale manager. And okay, now we need to think back about our SteamVR actions. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create an action for each of these inputs we want. Going to go into SteamVR input. I'm going to remove pirate grip for now. Create a new action, and in fact I'll remove touchpad touch and touchpad press, just so we're nice and clear. Okay, new action. We'll call this one left grip press. Okay, that's Boolean. That's correct, yep. Okay, and we'll go ahead and do the same for the right. Call it right grip press. Okay. Now what else do we need? Left and right grip press. We also need thumb pad up down for the left. In fact, I'll get them as vector 2s, and I'll work out the up and down in the C# script. So I'll just go left thumb pad, left thumb pad, axis, left thumb pad. Position. Probably position or axis. I'll probably position. Left thumb pad position. Also do right thumb pad position. Okay. Oh, and these are vector 2s. Left thumb pad position is a vector 2. Okay, so we got the 2 thumb pad positions. We got the 2 grips. I'm also going to do one for the thumb pad press. I'll do for left and right as well. Might as well. Okay. Okay. So I've just realized there's a few different ways of assigning left and right. One of them is to do it with this open bindings UI. That's a bit more work than doing it using your C# script. So I think the nicest way to do it would be SteamVR input sources dot left and dot right. That's a better way of doing it. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, so just to clarify, this is how it's gonna look. What we're gonna have is we'll have a public, well, let's see what. How did that look again? Yeah. Okay, so we'll have a. This is how it'll look. It'll be a public SteamVR action vector 2. And this will be our left thumb pad pause, and we'll do the same for right. Now these will. I haven't tried this yet, but I think this will work. These will both reference the same SteamVR action, and then we'll be able to, when we reference it down here, then we'll be able to select our input source. I think that'll work. Wait, no. Try again. I'll try again. This is very new to me. Okay. I think this is a better way to do it. Thumb pad pause. Okay, so you're getting in thumb pad position, and then you're able to select any select your left and right. So it would be something like this. It would be like we'll create a new function. So we'll go void left thumb pad press, and that'll return thumb pad pause dot get. Let's see, get state, get access. Okay, yeah, get access. That should work. Dot get access SteamVR input sources dot left hand. Okay, yeah, and that's going to return a vector 2. I think this is the nicest way to do it. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to do the same for the right. Right thumb pad press, return input sources dot right hand. This offers us more customization closer to where we're working. We can do everything in C#, and we'll only need to visit this bindings and actions stuff once. That's the hope. And also, this is also how it seems that SteamVR is doing it. So for example, SteamVR has a grab pinch, grab grip for both controllers. It doesn't specify left and right. I know it does for skeleton. I'm not sure why it does it that way. Oh well. Okay, out of interest, you might notice that we just lost all the work we did. That's new to me as well. We just lost all the work we did. I think that's because we didn't hit save and generate. So that's good to know. Okay, so now I'm going to create a new action. I'll call this thumb pad press. No, thumb pad position. Thumb pad position. Okay, and that's a vector 2. And this will be for both left and right. Now we're going to create a new one called thumb pad press. And that's a boolean. And what else have we got? Thumb pad position. Oh, and grip. I know there is a. Oh, maybe we should use a grab. We should use the default grab grip. Why not? That makes more sense. Grab grip is a boolean. I'm not sure what the difference between grab. I think grab pinch is for a Vive controller, which has a left and right. I think that's what that is. Okay, so we've got our grab, we've got our thumb pad. And last thing we want is thumb pad press. Oh, we already got that. Okay, sweet as. So save and generate. Let that load. Okay, would you like to delete the unused input file? Yes, I would. Ladies and gentlemen, we are listening to Time Cop 1983, Reflections. Okay, I do want to save my changes. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and open our bindings UI. Okay, we're going to set our, I believe it's defaulting to the Windows Mixed Reality headset, because you'll notice in SteamVR here, the controllers aren't there. They tend to go to sleep fairly quickly, which is quite good, because I think they use a fair bit of power. Well, I will need to restart SteamVR though, unless, I think I can just, if I just hit play here, that might do the trick. Okay, maybe not. Maybe if I wave the controller in front of the headset. No, that didn't work either. Okay, so I think what I got to do is I got to close SteamVR and have the controllers on when SteamVR opens. We'll try that out anyway. Okay, there we go. Now we've got both the controllers. Hopefully now, if I close that controller binding. Oh no, it's found them. That's good. So go to controller binding, Windows Mixed Reality controller, run SteamVR to continue using the binding interface. Okay, so it looks like SteamVR might need a bit of help starting up. Try opening it up again. Okay. Now we've got the headset without the controllers. Let's have a look. Okay, I'm gonna try one more thing. Last time what seemed to work quite well was closing SteamVR as well as Windows Mixed Reality. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and close Windows Mixed Reality. And we'll give it a go now. Got both controllers and the headset ready. Okay. Diamonds in the sky. Wait for it now. Gosh, I really hope that we don't need to set up the room again. Oh no, I think it's found it. Yeah, it's found it straight away. Beautiful. Okay, let's make sure it's still looking good. Looking wonderful. Okay, so now we've got the headset and both controllers working, which is really good. What I can do now is I can open up our bindings UI. Okay. So now we've got our controllers set up. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and just edit the one we were using. I'm curious because we deleted that pirate grip option. It's gone ahead and you can't really see that. It's gone ahead and it's reset. That used to be saying pirate grip for click. So that's being removed, which is really good. Now what do we need to set up? We need to set our joystick. I should have called it joystick. What did I call it? Use it as a joystick. I called it a thumb pad position. Oh well, close enough. Joystick, thumb pad. Oh, although that's a thumb pad, isn't it? Trackpad. Should I rename it? I should probably rename it. Let's rename it. Let's do this right. Rename thumb pad position to joystick position. And rename thumb pad press to joystick press. Although it seems like the convention is... Oh no. Yeah, no, I think the convention is click. Joystick click. Okay, that's a bit better. I'm going to remove these touchpad touch and touchpad press as well. We're not going to use those. Joystick position and joystick click. Okay, let's save and generate that. Probably going to restart the UI as well. What is it called? The bindings UI. Would you like to delete the unused input files? Yes. Okay. This is quite interesting because I'm not sure, but I think it does a little bit of procedural script generation, which I find a really interesting topic. Okay, anyway, let's go ahead and open up our bindings UI. Okay, so we're going to go into Pirates bindings for Windows Mixed Reality controllers. And now we're going to go down to joystick position, which we should be able to set. Oh, you can't. Hold on a second. I'll put this over here. Set our joystick position to joystick position, and we'll set our. Where's joystick press? Where's our joystick press button? Use as joystick. I wonder. Use as joystick. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder if I add another one. Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. Out of interest, so this is saying, okay, this is the entity that is this joystick trackpad slash, or like, yeah, I don't know what you call it. For lack of a better word, joystick and also a button that the joystick presses. And so it'll give us a position and a boolean. But what we need to do to enable that is we need to hit plus, and we'll add a button. Interesting, out of interest, it's got a toggle button, which is really nice that that's built in, but we're just going to use a regular button. Okay, so now we've got this, what's this unused? I'm going to remove this unused. And okay, so now we've got this button, and we say on click, we want to select joystick click. Okay, so we've set our joystick position, we set our joystick click. Now we go ahead and save our personal binding. Save. The one last thing I want to double check is that our grip is, yeah, okay, this is what I thought. Because I was mucking around with the grip before, with that pirate thing I was telling you about, then we got to make sure that we reset it to the default. So I'm gonna, let's see if I trash this. No, I won't trash it because yeah, I think that's just what we're gonna do. So if we delete that, we go to grip. We set as a button. I'm not sure what the difference between click and touch is. Because I understand the difference between click and touch with the touchpad. But these grips, I don't think they've got a touch. I don't think they've got touch sensitivity. Maybe they do, I don't know. Might be wrong. We could look into it. Might leave that for another day. I'm gonna leave, okay, so I'm just gonna select grab grip. And yeah, okay, I'll just leave that for now. So, because we're in mirror mode, this means that we're able to use this for both controllers, which is really nice. And we can set whether it's left or right in our C# script. So let's see, we've done step 1, which is create our actions. Step 2, which is bind them to our Windows Mixed Reality controller. And now step 3 is to go ahead and write our C# script. Okay, I should probably close that. Let's see, so we'll write our C# script. What do we do here? We go to scene. Yep, we got our scene. Got our settings. I'm gonna reset our scale to 1. Now I'm gonna go into VS Code. Okay, so now we've got our thumb pad position. I'm going to remove these two. Got our thumb pad position, and we're also going to get our grip click. I guess click is the terminology we're using, but yeah, our grip press, and we're also going to do our our joystick press, joystick click. So that's the two more we're gonna do. Okay, so they'll both be public Steam VR action boolean. First one is, I should rename this thumbpad to joystick pause, joystick click. What's a boolean? I don't really like click, because click implies up down. I prefer down. Joystick is the joystick down. Oh, okay. Rewind. This is the interesting thing, is that if we I'll just leave it as click, and then I'll just remembered how it works. Okay, I'll just comment this out for a second. Okay, so if we go to if joystick click dot get state up and get state down. So that's why it kind of makes sense for it to, instead of being called joystick pressed or joystick down, because we can either get up or down. If that makes sense. I'm not sure what. See, get state is now quite ambiguous. It says down and up. So we're gonna be explicit. We're gonna say get state down. Is it down? Is it being pressed? Is it being pressed? Okay, this is what I'm thinking about. This is quite interesting because a click isn't a down then an up. Is it gonna? What we're gonna do is we'll do some testing. I'm just gonna say, I want to know is can we register a click? Because the problem with getting the state down is that if we were to say, for example, toggle the auto update of the time every time the stick was down, then it would mean that if it was down for more than one frame, it would toggle on and off. So we do really want to click. So let's see if we can get this click happening. Joystick click dot get state down, SteamVR, import sources dot, we'll just do the left hand for now. We'll test out whether that's working or not. Okay, so I'm gonna print something for down, up, and just get state. Log left hand, left joystick state, and then we'll go ahead and let's see, we'll do a string.format states, and then I think this is how this is done, and we'll pass in true. Yeah, that'll work. Why not? Okay, so we've got that done. Now we'll do the same for state down. Left joystick down, and left joystick. Oh, whoops. This one can be up. Okay. So I'm just gonna do a bit of testing to see how this works exactly. What sort of inputs we get. What the difference between get state and get state down and get state up is, because the mapping did say that it was a click. It did say that it was a. That was the name of it, which makes me hope that we're actually going to be able to register a click rather than whether or not it's up or down. Let's give it a go. Okay, so here we are in our project. I'm going to go ahead and add this script, our WMR input, and we've got to assign our joystick position and joystick clicks. Okay, and I might as well assign the time and scale manager as well. Time manager, scale manager. Okay, let's test this out. So, in my hand, I've got the right controller. This should not do anything. Yep, not doing anything. That's perfect. Now, in my hand, I've got the left controller. which is also not doing anything. Also not doing anything, which isn't great. We did want the left controller to do something. So let's go check out what might be happening. Got our joystick click, action. I'm just going to try, instead of saying left hand, let's just try with any. For some reason, maybe the left and right aren't being assigned to the left and right controllers. That's a possibility. Okay, that's not working still. Okay, let's do some more debugging. I'm going to jump into make sure that my SteamVR inputs are looking good. Joystick position. Yep, it's vector 2. Joystick click is a Boolean. Let's go ahead and open that bindings UI again. Make sure that, maybe I didn't save it. Okay, current binding, WMR. Oh wait, pop this over here. Okay, let's see, we've got our joystick. Oh, users button, yeah, it's there. This is interesting. Just gonna hit save to personal binding again. Make sure that is saved. I'll also test out joystick position. Maybe we'll see if that's working as well. Okay, let's see just after I press save if that did anything. Okay, so that's still not working. I might just jump back into my scene that was just testing the UI. It kind of simplifies things. So go into scenes, go into UI, sorry, did I say UI? I meant input test. Okay, so we've got our input test, which is literally our camera rig and also our VR input. Make sure that joystick position is set and joystick click is set. And we'll go ahead and test those out. Okay, so got my right, which doesn't work, and my left, which is also not giving us anything. I just remembered there's a debugging option in the UI as well, in the bindings UI. So I'm going to jump into SteamVR, binding UI. Okay, what's happening now? Show bindings for editor. I think SteamVR is just closed. See if we can get that back up and running. Oh, now the controller's not connected again. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and close SteamVR. Yeah, I'm also going to close Windows Mixed Reality. And then I'm going to restart the app, which should restart Windows Mixed Reality, then restart SteamVR. Okay, we'll see how it goes. Okay, yep. Perfect. Now we've got both the controllers. Let's see, make sure the controllers are kind of in the world, yep. Controllers are there. Now I'm going to go ahead and open my binding UI, and I'm going to go to this. There's an option, if we go into our bindings, there's an option here called Input Debugger. Let's see, make sure that we're getting inputs. Okay, this is a lot of information. Let's see, input joystick X and joystick Y. What we're looking for is joystick click. Okay, system click. It's kind of interesting. Devices. Okay, so trigger click is working and system click. I'm not sure what this system click is. Okay, so that's trackpad. Okay, so this is out of interest, right? What we're getting is getting trackpad click. Okay, I think I might be getting closer to what's happening. Yeah, we're getting joystick left and right. That's working. I don't know. I don't know if you guys have worked with if you worked with Windows Mixed Reality before, like actually working with applications. The click of the joystick is mapped to going to like the home page or it's kind of like pressing start on Windows. It's like the home page of SteamVR. So I'm wondering if it's got like a special function, which is why it's not working as it should, or not working as we'd expect rather. Let's see. I'm gonna just see if we can get that system click. It doesn't seem to be an option. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove joystick click, and instead we're gonna use trackpad click. We'll give that a go. Okay, so use as, it's currently mapped to this teleport action. I'm gonna go ahead and, okay, so this is where I'm not quite understanding this. Okay, so it says trackpad, use as a button, and it's got this click button. Also, it's got used as a trackpad, and it's got this click button. But it's like, when is it being used as a button versus a trackpad? So I'm gonna delete this button one. And I'm gonna go into trackpad click. So I'm gonna change, oh, okay. I just realized we're gonna have to create a new action for trackpad click. So I'm gonna do that as well. Okay, so instead of joystick click, that doesn't seem to be happening. I'm gonna try trackpad click. Okay, trackpad click. This is a boolean, that's correct. Save and generate. This is a really good learning curve today. Yes, I would like to delete the unused assets. Okay. Save it. So, I've had a long day. Yeah, I've been streaming for a little while. Yeah, you've been around for the whole stream. You can hear my voice is starting to go a little bit. We're getting there though. We're slowly but surely getting there. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and open the bindings UI again. We're gonna go to, let's see, Pirates bindings for Windows Mixed Reality. We're gonna go to our trackpad, click, go to edit, click, and we're gonna select trackpad click. I'm gonna save that personal binding. Okay. Now, just so that we can quickly test this, I'm going to go into VR input, joystick click. I know it's called joystick click, but just for now, set this to trackpad click, and just see if we're getting that information that we were expecting. Now, I can't remember whether we were doing it for both or... Okay, beautiful. Sorry, I'm excited now. Beautiful. Okay, so it's working. And we've got a lot of information here, which is really nice. So if I do a single click, then we've got, let's see, the state is down. Okay, so we're getting a one event for down, or one boolean in one frame for down, and then it's got state, or it's got the state of being down. So in other words, state is whether or not it's down. Down only occurs in one frame, and then up only occurs in one frame. I tend to consider a click is when it's released. So we're going to use joystick up, or in this case it's trackpad. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to jump into the script. Okay, I'm going to rename this to trackpad click. We've got our joystick pause and our trackpad click. And one thing I haven't tested yet is, because at the moment we're using any input source, I want to make sure that it's only clicking. We want to get left and right ones to be different. Let's see. We want our... Let's test... The first thing that we should test is maybe... Let's test the reset of the scale. So we want when you have the trackpad and you release the trackpad on the right controller, reset the scale in our scale manager. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and in my scale manager, I'm going to create a public void reset scale, and that simply goes scale equals 1 and set scale offset with scale. Okay. So now in our WMI input, might as well just have this all in one in the update function. So we say if trackpad click dot get state up. In other words, when you release the trackpad, this will only happen one frame. Get state up, and we'll only want it on the right controller. So SteamVR input sources dot right hand. I'm just going to I haven't tested yet whether or not it only works on the right controller. So I'm just going to quickly do that. Log right click. Okay, I'm just going to test this is working. Okie dokie. We hit play. What's happened here? Oh, for some reason, okay, because I renamed this variable from joystick click to trackpad click. So I'm gonna rename it. Just make sure I reset that again. Go back into our trackpad. Okay, so now if I go, okay, right click, yep, that works. And if I use the left one, nothing happens. Yay. Okay, so we've got things working on the right controller. It's really good. Next step is we can go back into our main scene and we'll start working with that scale manager. Okay, so I'm going to go to my scale manager. Let's see, go to the settings. Make sure we reset this trackpad click to our trackpad click action. Okay, and now in settings we can say instead of logging a right click, we're going to say scale manager dot reset scale. Okay. So let's test this out. Once we've got this first one working, then we'll just do the same for the rest of them. Okay, so let's see, scale. I'm just going to set the scale to something really big, and then I'm going to click on the right one. Ah, it goes back to 1. Okay, beautiful. So now we've got that working. Let's go ahead and do the rest of them. Okay, so we've got reset scale. That's one of the things we need to do. Next thing we need to do is I want to map the scale. I'm going to need to do a bit of math here. I'm going to map the scale between on the axis. So in other words, if you go all the way to the left, it'll be like 0.001 or something like that. And on the very right, it'll be a scale of 10. In other words, you can set the scale by using the joystick. Okay, I just realized that won't work because then as soon as you release the joystick, it'll reset the scale. Instead, let's have it go, depending on how far you move the joystick, it'll change the scale by that amount. Kind of makes sense. Okay, so let's go ahead and go, let's see. I haven't even tested this. I haven't even tested the thumb pad or the trackpad, the joystick position yet. So let's go ahead and get some log some values out. So I go to if, no, not if. Let's see, float, we'll call it right right joystick x-axis equals let's see, joystick pos dot get axis. Okay, and we'll go SteamVR input sources dot right hand, and then we're just going to grab the dot x, which will give us the x-axis. I'm expecting a value between -1 and 1, and we'll just log that out. Right, okay, so we'll log right joystick x-axis. Okay. Let's see, now, if I go ahead and press play, grab my right controller, should be 0. Oh, interesting. It's not quite 0. Okay, yeah, it's -1 when we go all the way to the left, and it's 1 when we go all the way to the right. But what this means is, because it's 0.003, is it's going to drift a bit. So we need to have a variable. Say if it's less than 0.1, ignore it. Okay, so I'm going to jump back in here and say if right joystick x-axis is we need to get the absolute value because it's either 1.1 or -1.1. If math f.abs of the right joystick x-axis is less than 0.1, return. Otherwise, log the axes. Okay, I'll give that a go. Okay, so now it shouldn't log anything if it's just in the middle. Yep. And then if I move it, there we go. -1, and now it's not logging anything, and then 1. Yeah, no, that works quite well. Okay. So I'll just make that a constant. Let's see, we have a const. We'll call it joystick threshold. Joystick threshold equals 0.1f. It's less than joystick threshold. Okay. And we might as well, I'm just going to flip it on its head here. Say if it's equal to or greater than joystick threshold, then we'll do the thing. Greater than or equal to. Okay, and what are we going to do? We're going to change the scale by that amount. Okay. So let's create a function in our scale manager, and we'll call this let's just be a public void set scale. And we'll pass in a float. Oh no. Move scale. It's not setting the scale, it's moving the scale by some amount. I don't know if move scale is the right word. Adjust scale, maybe? Adjust scale. Adjust scale. I don't like that either. We'll just stick with move scale. Okay, we'll go move scale by float delta pos or delta amount. Let's go delta pos. Okay, so now we need to say scale moves by that amount unless it's less than 0.0001 or greater than 10. Okay, so let's see how this works. If we go scale, if scale plus delta pos is greater than 10, I want to make these constants as well. Let's see if I can do it. I can't remember how to do this. If I do a define, so I want to be able to use it in this range. I'm not sure if I could do that if it's a constant. Let's find out. Const float min min scale equals 0.001. That's F. Okay, range. If I could put this in range, does that work? Oh, it does work. Cool. Oh no, it doesn't. It doesn't work. Or maybe it does. Hold on a sec. It does work. Sweet as. Okay, max scale equals 10. Let's be a range of min scale to max scale. Okay, and now we're gonna adjust the scale by this delta position if the scale plus the delta pos is within this range. So if it's greater than max scale or it's less than, okay, no, okay, okay, I'm just figuring this out. Okay, we'll make this this will be the new pos. So go float new scale equals this, scale plus delta pos. We'll say if new scale is greater than max scale or new scale is less than min scale, then we're going to return and we're not going to do anything. Otherwise, we'll set the scale to the new scale. Okay. So, in our WMR input, we're going to go ahead and say if the absolute value is greater than the threshold, then we do want to do something with it. So we'll go scale manager dot move scale, and we're going to pass in the right joystick x-axis. Now, one more thing we might want to consider, and I know this is going to sound really weird, but we might want to consider if we want to scale our scale, as in if we want to say, at the moment it's going to change it by 0.1, we might want to make it more sensitive. Oh no, sensitivity, that's a good word. So we'll do a public float scale sensitivity. Okay, and that's going to equal 1 at the moment. We might want it to be like 0.1, so as in if your axis moves by 0.1, it's going to change the scale by 0.01. Okay, so they'll make that a range of 0.01 to 2. And we're just going to multiply it by the scale sensitivity. Scale sensitivity. Okie dokie. And now we can go ahead and test this out. Let's see. Okay, so I got my right joystick here. Oh. Joysticks are going to sleep again, so we're just going to go ahead and restart it. Okay. I'm going to close SteamVR, close Windows Mixed Reality, and then restart the app. Okay, just double check SteamVR is getting those inputs, the controllers. Yeah, looking good. Getting the left controller, I'm not sure what's happening with the right controller. Okay, I might try restarting again. You know, this, out of interest, this seems like it's a bit of a process, but this is nothing compared to when the controllers first, or when I first got this headset. It was pretty much every time you restart the app, you got to go into Bluetooth and forget this device, then find the device again, go into open up the controller, go into was it Bluetooth pairing every single time you restarted the controller. So this is not too bad. Okay, and now we're getting both controllers. Beautiful. So now, if I grab my right controller, yeah, oh, there we go, look at that. So we see we're able to change the scale this way. Out of interest, it doesn't seem to be updating. I think that's because in my scale script, when I'm setting this, when I'm moving scale, I need a set scale offset as well. Okay. So yeah, so as I mentioned, it's a little bit too I guess insensitive, if that's the word for it. It's a little bit too insensitive. We kind of want it to be a bit more sensitive. So I'm going to change the sensitivity to maybe 0.1. Still a little bit too 1. I'll try 0.01. Okay, that's a bit better. Okay, that's quite good. It'll take a while for it to get bigger. I mean, what we really, if we were very clever, would have an exponential value, right? But I don't think that's for this. Not today. Okay, so we've got scale working. This is beautiful. And now if I hit the if I hit the trackpad button, then it resets to 0, which is really cool. Okay, reset for 0. Okay, now let's do time. In our script, okay, so WMR input. Okay, so we've done scale. Kind of want them to be in their own functions. That's a better idea. So I would say void set time, and we'll have another void of set scale. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pop these in the scale function. Okay, now let's see, what are our steps for time? We've got reset time. That's fairly straightforward. I'll go ahead and open up my time manager. Update. That's resetting time is just setting the current year to 2018. So we'll go void reset time. Oh, this will be a public void as well. Public void reset time. What have we got to do? We got to say set J2000 offset with the year. Also, okay, so we've got to set current year equals 2018. And set J2000 offset by current year. Okay, it's essentially we really could this really should be like this, reset time. It's kind of the same. It's a little cheat. If you don't feel like making your own custom inspectors for things, you can make a Boolean value where whenever it's pressed, then whenever you set it to true on your inspector, it gets set to false. And also it does something. So that's how you kind of like quickly make a button. Anyway, what are we doing? Okay, so we've got our reset time. Now we can say in our WMR input, we can say set time. So it's essentially exactly the same as this one we did for scale, except we're going to use the left hand, and also we're going to say, instead of scale manager reset scale, we're going to say time manager dot reset time. Okay. So now we're resetting time. Next step is to change the current year. Okay. Oh no. So there's two more, isn't there? There's auto update and change the current year. Okay. So first of all, we'll do current year, and then we'll look at auto update. Again, it's almost exactly the same as with the scale, except we're going to use the left joystick x-axis instead. Okay. Float. Left joystick x-axis. In fact, I can probably just call this X, Float X. Might as well. Make it a bit easier to read. I'll do the same down here. If the absolute value of the float x. Okay, and so instead of using the right hand for our time current year, we're going to use the left hand. And what we want to do, we're going to say, I'm going to create a new public function called set current year. So it'll be a public void set current year. Be a float year. And we're going to do two things here. We're going to update this variable, and we're also going to set our J2000 offset. So in fact, it's very similar to reset time, except we're passing in a year. Okie dokie. Now we're going to jump back to our WMR input, and now if the absolute value is greater than the joystick threshold, then we'll go to our time manager, .set. Oh, I forgot that. Remember, we don't want to set the current year, we want to move the current year, which is slightly different. Remember with our scale manager, we said, oh, we've got this new scale. If it's within this range, then change it. The only difference with our time manager, we probably don't care about range. You could go back as far as you want or forward as far as you want. It's up to you. So how we're going to do that is we're simply just going to say, instead of set current year, I might as well leave that function in there in case we want it later. I'm going to create a new function, call it move current year. And this variable is not year, it's going to be delta year. It's in the change in years. Current year plus equals delta year. Plus equals delta year. Okay. So now we're gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna have a year sensitivity, except this is gonna be slightly different because we really want to move by, if it's going all the way, I want to say like about 10,000 years or even more, maybe like 50,000 years if our stick's all the way to the left or right. Although I'm just realizing that that's going to happen every frame. So maybe, all right, I'll start off by saying 1,000 years. We'll see how that goes. Range of 0 to 1,000. So start with, or maybe range of 1 to 1,000. And this will be our time sensitivity, or our delta, I'll call it delta year. Delta year sensitivity. Okay, time manager dot move current year. X multiplied by delta year sensitivity. Okay, so what this means is that if we move our left stick all the way to the left, it'll be negative 1,000. All the way to the right, it'll be positive 1,000. And it's going to do that every frame. So if we're going at 60 frames per second, then that's going to be 60,000 years a second. So that might work well. Unless, this is a better way of doing it. This is a cleaner way of doing it. Multiply it by time dot delta time. And now we're setting delta years per second. This is a much cleaner way of doing it. Okay, and maybe we want it to be 50,000. 50,000 delta years per second. I'm going to make it a range of 1 to 100,000. Okay, that's a bit better. I think that's everything. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's that. The last thing we need to do is enable or disable auto update. I can do that later. First of all, we'll test it. Oh no, you know what? Might as well do it all in one go, because then I think that'll be about everything. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and go to create a new Boolean action, and this will be called grip press or grip click. Okay, and now we're just going to have one more. This is going to be most similar to our reset time, except instead of trackpad click, it's grip click. If we grip click on the left left controller, we're going to toggle auto update. So this is okay, this will be a public void toggle auto update. If you haven't been following a series, or you're new to what we're sort of doing here, just come in, then we've got this 3D Starchart application. It's very much like a 2D one, but the stars have a position in space, and they've also got a velocity. And what we're doing is we're setting the current year, which means we can set the stars as they were 10,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago, or 100,000 years in the future. And what we've got here is we've got a little feature which is really nice. Is you turn it on and it'll just have the stars moving through time at, say, like 10,000 years per second or something. So that's what auto update is. Okay, and so if we want to toggle it, because remember, all we're going to pass in is whether or not every time the grip gets clicked, we want to toggle it. We're just going to say auto update equals not auto update. So if it's true, it'll be false. If it's false, it'll be true. And then we're going to reset time. No, we're not. Wait. Yes. No, that's all we need to do. Toggle auto update, that's all we need to do. Because then in our update function, it's going to check that variable and do something. It's going to update the current year based on that. Okay. So, if grip click.getState up, left hand, time manager dot toggle auto update. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and set that grip click action to our what is it called? Grab grip. Grip click grab grip. It's close enough. Okay, let's go ahead and test this out. So let's see. I'll make sure I got my VR controllers are up and running. What does that mean? In standby mode. Move it to wake it up. I'm moving it. Oh, okay. Well, no, it's working anyway. Okay. I just realized that I adjusted that sensitivity of our scale while it was in play mode. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to adjust it while it's not in play mode. I want the scale sensitivity 0.01 maybe. I want it to be quite sensitive. Okay. Beautiful. Okay, so now we're able to set how big all the stars are. All this really means is that if it's really big, when you move your head around, it'll look like it does from Earth, as in the stars don't move relative to each other. And if you make it really small, as you move your head around, then you really be able to see them in 3D space. And also I've got to test we'll test the reset scale. There we go. So if I click on the trackpad, it'll reset the scale. Might also do that if you click on the grip button, but I'll do that later. Anyway, so we've got our scale working. Now for time. Okay, so if I move there we go, beautiful. If I move the stick, if I move the analog stick, I'm able to move forward in time. This is the current year, by the way. Current year is 250 AD. 250,000 AD. Okay, so that's working nicely. And you notice the constellations start to look kind of goofy after a certain period of time. Next thing I want to do is I want to see if I can reset the current year. Oh no, that's auto update. Reset current year. See if that worked. Uh-oh, what happened? Oh no! I think I crashed it. Okay. Oh, it did work. I'm not sure what happened there. It seems that the oh, you know what's happening is because I'm not moving the headset around, it's going to sleep. That's silly. Come on, headset, wake up. Maybe I should just put the headset on while I'm doing this. Okay, let's see now if that'll work. Okay, sweet. We still got the two controllers, which is good. Scale still working. Time. Oh yeah. So reset time. Yep. Okay, beautiful. So you might notice this current year is being reset to 2018. And finally, let's test auto update. It's working. It's all working. One thing left to do. This is the one thing that I kind of want to, I don't know, give you guys a headset so that you can see it. And then the last thing to do is actually test it with the headset. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Yep, they're certainly moving around. Okay, I'm just going to see if we can do these adjustments. So you guys see that all right? I might make this screen a little bit bigger. Hold on, I'll try not to move my head around too much. I know that can be a bit dizzying. Okay, so let's see. Let's start off with, we'll turn off auto update. Okay, and now I'm going to reset the time. There we go. So now our constellations are back where they should be. Next I'm gonna, okay, so this is a really good example how I was talking about how you can see how as I move my head, some stars that are closer, as you can see that they're closer. Now if I move the scale way further away, then you'll notice all the stars are starting to just stay in their place as I move my head. So this is how maybe a more traditional two-dimensional stargazing app would work. Yeah, so they're sort of looking as they regularly would. I think origin is somewhere down here, so that's kind of where they should be. And then if I go ahead and reset the scale, so now I can show you guys where Alpha Centauri is, because it's in this one called Centaurus, in this constellation rather. And you can see this, I hope you guys can see that. You see that? Yeah. Looks alright, yeah. Yeah, you can see this really close one. This really close one here is Alpha Centauri. But I can't quite touch it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the scale down a bit. And now I can really see it. There's Alpha Centauri right here. Okay, and you'll notice, guys, I don't know if you can see, but my controller's on the ground right now. So that means that the origin is at 0. We really want the origin to be about head height. But I'll do that later. No, I'll do that now. That would be much better if the origin was at head height. So, do you guys know what I mean? Like origin is in 0, 0, 0, where the solar system is relative to all these stars. So all I need to do that, to make that happen, is in my Starchart instance, simply set its position on a y-axis to maybe 1.7, and that'll just make it a bit higher up. Okay. As we were. Let's see. Okay. I might turn off the music as well because I don't have my headphones on. I can't hear the music. I don't even know if you guys can hear me or not. It's almost at the end of the album. All right. So here we are. We've got our scene. Now everything's at head height. We can see Alpha Centauri being the closest star system rather. And if I go ahead and reduce the scale, then all the stars are coming to this central point of about 1.7 meters above the ground. So well, that's that's quite gnarly in VR. Okay, so in extreme example, this has got all the stars kind of clustered together. And if we step back, we can sort of see the outer limits of this entire this entire project. You might notice the constellations aren't updating. That's the constellations, just because of how I've designed the app. We won't be able to set the positions of the constellations in the shader. We can update procedurally, but I haven't got that built into the UI at this point. Okay. Anyway, so if we made it a bit bigger, let's see. I just wanted to go. Yeah, so you can see, this is a really cool thing is we can play around with the stars. So here's our Alpha Centauri. We can sort of, you can see it. If we were able to really, get close and magnify things, we should be able to see that there's, in fact, 2 stars here rather than just the one. Okay, so that's scale, right? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to reset scale. So now it's at 1 parsec is 1 meter. So this is Alpha Centauri should be about 1.3 meters away. And now I'm going to play with time. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is just move time. Okay, so now we can see as the constellation you can see the stars moving through space. In fact, what we should be able to do is we should be able to see which star is the next to come nearest to our solar system. Should be able to do that. There's no reason why not. I'm not sure. It might be this guy. It's getting kind of close. That's in Orion. I think that's in Orion. Sort of got to put the. Yeah, it is in Orion. You got to put the constellation back together to be able to see where the stars came from. Yeah, so this is just with me holding down the button and watching the sort of time go by. Of course, the other thing we can do is we can set the auto time scale, which is a really nice way to observe it. So you just put the controllers down, sort of just watch it all float by. And ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap. That is the show. That is what we sort of were aiming to achieve. Took a little bit to get the inputs going, and we got there eventually. Yeah, that's good. I'll probably consolidate this at some point into a smaller episode, something that is a bit more clean cut. But for now, yeah, I'm really happy with how this went. Thanks for tuning in.